Ladies and gentlemen, while I am very excited to have the Big Brother preseason come to an end, because once we get the cast, that's when we know the true season is about to begin, I'm also a bit disappointed. Why am I disappointed? Because I tried my best over the last 8 months, give or take, to warn this community that if they didn't start doing an about face and start showing more appreciation towards straight black men in general, they would create their worst nightmare and they would set up every black player to fail. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not somebody who's happy to be right in this moment because you all see this cast, you all see what's coming, and please believe I am going to provide you all with the best content known to man because the real will tell you, during the actual Stone Age is when my name truly reached its fame. It's when it was claimed. It's when everyone knew that there was only one man who truly could reign. See, back in the day, when a lot of people were scared to do live streams, back in the day when people were scared to tell the truth about what was happening to black players in this game, it was I who decided, you know what? Worst come to worst, what can really happen if I just tell my truth? That's when you all saw my original rant. So understand, this is a long story, and I'm going to do my best to explain why I feel the way I do about this cast. And while there is some selections on this cast that I do like, let me state that I do not want the general public or the patron base to believe that just because I know for a fact no black person will win, this means I think this season's bad. I think this season still has the potential to be interesting. I just think it's sad that when you have defending champions who are black, you don't even allow us to be fully equipped. That way, if you defeat us, you deserve to be the new champion. You set us up to be in a handicap match, so then when we lose the belt, you can act as if you earned the belt. And that is really the part that really is not lost on me. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to provide you all with the apex analysis that you all have become accustomed to. In this rant, in this worst of first, RBR exclusive worst of first, in my exclusive scoring-based ranking system, I am going to break down every player based off my first impression, based off my reads, based off the way their mannerisms, the way they carry themselves, the way they're speaking in the interviews, the way their bios look, where they're from, what they plan to do. Understand, I created an exclusive scoring-based ranking system based off 5 categories. These categories are the categories that I believe make up the perfect player when you can put it all together. These categories are as follows: the ability to adapt, likability and social game, knowledge of the game, pre-game strategy, and initial threat level. So ladies and gentlemen, get yourself a cold beverage, all right? Kick your feet up, because in this rant, I'm going to tell you the harsh truth that I'm sure a lot of people on the internet are not going to want to tell you, here exclusively at Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism.
Eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Recency Bias Radio, your number one source for everything rants concerning all of reality TV. Now, we're going to get into breaking down this cast once and for all. It's rare that I provide a worst to first the same day of the cast reveal, but if you all remember, last year I was forced to do the same things under time constraints because the cast was not revealed until the day before the season began. They gave us 2 days this time, but I still wanted to get it out early to the patrons. That way I could get it out early to the public before the actual season aired. Now, let me start off with some early thoughts. My first impressions are as follows. Number 1, I think it is not a good look that there is only one straight black man on this cast. Everyone knows that the black woman only makes Final 2 with the help of the black man. And for this cast to have 5 white men on it and only 1 black man, I have to ask the question, is it safe to say now that even production is admitting to us? Because, see, I'm going to look at this differently than the average person. See, I look at this as the greatest compliment you can give me. You're basically saying one straight black man on his game is the equivalent to 5 white men. That's what they're saying based off this cast now, okay? They're telling us right now, we currently, based off the power rankings, based off of the last few seasons of North American Big Brother, we are the most dominant archetype. So I want that to be stated too. Even though this is a certain thing that we all saw coming, and even though it's not something we necessarily want to see, this is a backhanded compliment, even if it is a compliment. It's production basically saying, hey, 2 of y'all on the same season is overpowered. Now, well, it remains to be seen why they believe 5 white men isn't overpowered, but those were my initial takes, ladies and gentlemen. And I am disappointed that there was no one of Latin descent. Let me state that. I think this is a positive season in terms of representation, but I would like to see other groups of people, other cultures also get a chance to shine on such a season if you're going to give all of these other archetypes the chance to finally win. Now, let's go ahead and get into the order, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you all are here for. 16th place in my exclusive scoring-based ranking system, ladies and gentlemen, is none other than Red Utley. All right, listen, I get it. He reminds us all of Donnie. He got a little bit of cornbread in him, maybe a little smidge of Frenchie, but everything about this guy I have seen thus far tells me he's in over his head completely. All right, the worst part about this cast, in my opinion, is that it feels like a small percentage actually are super fans. It feels like the majority of this cast were recruited. When you listen to their answers in the interviews, they're not very enthusiastic with explaining why they are here. In Red's case specifically, he admits he doesn't even watch much TV. He only really watches TV when it's time to eat. Otherwise, he's on the Duck Dynasty side of the game. He's outside, you know? But with that said, I'm going to give Red a fair chance when the season begins. But as of right now, my guy, I'm sorry, you're last place. You got 12 stars out of a possible 25, bro. Like, man, it's looking peak. Now, Red Utley's nickname is the Chill Billy. All right, and I think that's a dope nickname, but I wish you could showcase a little bit more personality. That way we can see the chill side come out of you, you know? This is the BB community. We put Chill Town on a pedestal. So if you're going to create a nickname that incorporates the word chill in it, we're expecting you to be entertaining, coach. So if you are in any way, shape, or form a snooze fest throughout this season, I'm sorry, you're going to have to change your name to something else, coach. But with that said, Red Utley is 37 years old. His hometown is Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and his occupation is in sales. Now, he doesn't want to admit his occupation is sales. He wants to send people off. The majority of players on this cast, they seem to be more fixated with the idea of lying about their job title. Now, that insinuates, that implies that these are super fans, because usually it takes a super fan to understand you should lie about your occupation. But what I gather is even the ones that are casuals, even the ones that are recruits still want to lie about their occupation because there's some paranoia there. Now, I will say this. I do like the fact that this cast is a bit older, a little bit more mature. But the only negative side about them being more mature is we probably will get less messiness from a showman standpoint. And if we get less messiness from that standpoint, we'll have less opportunities for the players on the bottom to rally the troops against the showmans. See, I don't really love all showmances, but I do understand the need for a showmance on a season because sometimes that can be the magnetic charge that either repels people who think it's repulsive, or it brings more followers towards the showmance and it creates new alliances that you can pivot off of, create more of an onion strategy based off of, that type of thing. Now, Red, I don't expect him to be in a showmance, and I don't really expect him to drive much strategy, hence why he ranks this low. All right? To me, he feels like a variant of past players. He seems to be a cool Southern man excited for the opportunity. I think it would behoove Red to play both sides a bit here this season. He's the third oldest cast member, so early on, he should be looking to keep Felicia and Hisam around. But that also means Jag and Mecole could prove to be the biggest obstacle for the Chillbilly to overcome pre-jury. And that really is his biggest problem, ladies and gentlemen, right? The idea that if you're not a super fan, and if you're older, right, you kind of have the double-edged sword of negativity aimed towards your game. Because you're not going to drive where the alliances go. Because you don't really know the game as much as everyone else. You're going to be more of a passenger inside that vehicle. And when you're a passenger inside the vehicle and you're older, you're also the person people don't want to drag to the end either, believing people will just reward you because you're the older person. We'll get into a few players later. I believe they are going to be stigmatized in a similar fashion. A lot of these players, see, they're still believing because Taylor won, they can just get a win handed to them, not realizing they are walking into a Stone Age trap. Okay, you can tell based off some of the answers some of these players are giving that they believe they're walking into another Golden Age season. They think they can three-peat, coach. That's not going to happen. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, if Red can get another player out to where Reilly, Felicia, and maybe Hisam are relying on him to stay safe, I think he can win this game, but he's sure to be I think he can win this game, but at least he's sure to be a likable personality. Now, he's a recruit. He watches the game casually. He plans to lie about a few things, but he also seems to be not really know what he wants to do. So a guy like Red, my biggest I guess, advice I would give to Red walking into a game such as this is blend in, lay low, and what you should really do is align with the older men or align with the older women. Just sit back. Because if you look at this cast, it is set up to go one or two ways early on. Either they're going to all gang up on our brother Jarrett because he the only black man there, or this cast is going to say, enough of that Taylor stuff. We're going to take out a black woman very early because that group of three is very scary. Because you have to put yourself in the shoes of a non-black player now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's really talk some brass tacks here. It's one thing to be disappointed about how the cast looks. It's a whole nother thing to talk about the reality of how these people see the game based off of what they've seen the last two seasons, right? If you see three black women walk into the game, one is 60 years old and plus, the other is 30, and the other one's like 25 or so, give or take. You're terrified of any of those three making Final Three because of the current era we just left out of, that a lot of these players believe we are still inside of. Because of that, I think a guy like Red, it behooves him, if he sees anyone black on the block early in the game, to go ahead and vote them out. It behooves him 100%, because the more black people leave before jury, the more Red has a legit shot to make the end. But if at least 3 out of the 4 black players still in this game make jury, I think Red, from a social standpoint, is going to be one of those players that a lot of people are going to they're going to view as, oh, he's an easy person to sacrifice because you got to understand, a lot of players do not want to take a big shot if they believe if they take that shot, another member who is close to them will take the shot back at them, right? I could see Red being the sacrificial lamb where there's 2 alliances on both sides of the game. He's floating in the middle, and because this side is too scared to fire the first shot because they're like, yo, if we fire this first shot, none of us could make jury. I could see Red being that guy, all right, I'll use you as a pawn. And then he just happens to go home as a pawn. We've seen this several times before. I could see this happen to him. I mean, this happened to Cornbread. Cornbread thought he was staying during OTT. He ended up going home first. So in the ability to adapt, Red scored a 2 out of 5 stars. Likability and social game, 3 out of 5 stars. Knowledge of the game, 3 out of 5 stars. Pre-game strategy, 2 out of 5 stars. And initial threat level, 2 out of 5 stars. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on because I got a lot more hot takes towards a lot more other players. But salute to you, Red. Hopefully, you can shock us all. But currently speaking, I think right now you are the least well, I know that's oxymoron. You're the least impressive player so far on paper. All right. I don't see you winning many physical comps. I don't see you driving much strategy, and I don't see you being this massive super fan that Donnie once was. So I don't really see where your bag of tricks are, where you can truly control the game at any moment of it. I think other players are going to control it. They're going to drive the car, and you're just going to be along for the ride. So now let's go ahead and get into 15th place, ladies and gentlemen. It's none other than Miss Felicia Cannon, okay? Now, I know people are asking themselves, damn, Dave, you went ahead and just put her 15th place. Please explain. I think it's quite self-explanatory, though. I think Felicia Cannon is walking into a buzzsaw as well. But I think the buzzsaw she's walking into is vastly different than the one Red is walking into. See, I think Red is coming into this game as a worse player. But I think Felicia is actually the one in the most danger on day one. Now, I know that sounds confusing. I know that sounds convoluted. But please, allow me to explain further. I'm going to dive deep into this, okay? The reason why I feel this way is a lot of Felicia's answers, they were outdated answers. And I can understand why she would have an outdated philosophy. Because the average, let's just be real here, whether you're a casual or you're a super fan, the average brother, we saw what was coming. We were trying our best to keep this from happening. We were trying to go, hey, please, hey, y'all overdoing it over there. Come on now, give him a little bit of credit. Come on now, incentivize more of that. People they didn't want to try to listen to us. They like, no, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Woo. Okay then, all right. Well, sometimes it feels as if people only want to root for brothers when we fail, and then when we succeed, they want to hate. Well, we're surely going to fail this time, so I just hope we're appreciated more this season, because you're going to see this brother Jared, he's going to do everything he can to try to be what Monty was, and y'all are going to try to appreciate him for the things that Monty did, and as he fails at the things Monty was great at, it's going to be very interesting watching the semantics gymnastics of the same people that disliked Monty, even though he succeeded in getting a black woman to the end, that are the same people that are going to love Jared more than Monty, even though he failed at getting a black woman to the end. Because you have to ask the question, I thought you just wanted the black woman to keep winning. And at the end of the day, I must stress this. If Monty would have been more selfish, and if he would have truly done what was best for himself, there's an argument to be had that no black men would have been on this cast. So understand here, production knows what they are doing, and I just think it's a bit weird that there isn't 2 black men and 2 black women. Instead, they chose 3 black women, 1 black man. In my opinion, that was very calculated. Now, Felicia Cannon, she is 63 years old. Her hometown is Tacoma, Washington. Her current city is Kennesaw, Georgia, and her occupation is a real estate agent. Now, I believe this lady has potential, but I also believe she is in danger of kind of being a passenger just like Red, because outside of Hisam, outside of Red, I don't really see that many people that are older that will take her under their wing. She's relying on people confiding in her. But I think the only people that will confide in her are the people that believe she's the weakest out of the 4 black players. Therefore, they're just going to keep her close as they target the other people she really needs more than them. And that's not really going to help Felicia's game in the long run. That's just going to make her the last black person left. Probably the first jury boot if that happens to happen, right? And that's not what she wants. She wants to make the end. She wants an opportunity to make history again. She wants to win that money, Now, her occupation is a real estate agent, but she's also retired. She said she's retired from 2 different jobs. So it's heavily implied in her interviews, and I think you may have made a mistake saying all of this stuff, Felicia, because I think you could have cost yourself AFP here. And when the AFP award has become the Black Woman Award, I think it's very important for sisters to not admit that they don't really need the money that badly. Because a cast like this is kind of set up to go to someone else. If you really pay attention, I think the AFP is almost guaranteed to go to Matt. Before the season even starts, I think it's going to, if he wins 1 comp, it's going to him, okay? And at the end of the day, I ain't even mad at that. That's a good look. But with that said, it is what it is. Now, I love the fact that production included the sound of a cannon in Miss Cannon's intro package. Now, that was a funny little touch that they added to it. She's a self-proclaimed life of the party. I hope she has a great social game, because that age gap will likely hurt her in this game the most. Her best bet is to align with Hisam, the geriatric physician, because he's the closest to her in age, and he likely will have a similar disadvantage socially. If Felicia's social game is any good, she in theory could relate to all the white men on the cast because all of them are from down south. But if her social game is not very good, I see "Bye Felicia" memes being very common all across the timeline if she gets sent home. And that is what I don't want to see, but the joke kind of writes itself, so I just decided to speak on it right now. Alright, now, Felicia is going to need Mecole badly, in my opinion, from a strategic standpoint. She's going to need that political, strategic nuance added to what she can bring. But I think a lot of these sisters, unfortunately, I think production went out of their way to make sure all of the black women were not super fans, like legit super fans, and I think they hooked up the majority of all the white women to be real devout super fans. And you just can't manufacture that information. You know, when you have that type of source material that you can always go to while in that house, you always have different things that come to your mind that you can implement as a pivoting prowess tactic. If you don't have that same information, if you haven't been watching live feeds for the same amount of time as a true super fan, there's going to be certain limitations because your knowledge base is only based on the seasons that were shown to you. And even if you saw all the seasons, you didn't see as many as you could with feeds. So you don't really know the real context of why things happen. You only know the narrative production told you. What I fear is so many black women on this cast aren't real super fans. So they're running off of the narrative of what production said was true. But now production is prepared to flip it on its head. So it's almost like they want to embarrass these sisters a little bit. And later on, I'll get into how in the Mike Bloom interview, there was a real subtle editing tactic used to try to make Kirsten look bad. I'm noticing some things. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I'm still optimistic that the season can be interesting. But, you know, when Jared is talking about throwing comps and laying low, bro, you about to walk into a buzzsaw. You can't afford to throw nothing this season, my guy. You can't afford to. I know Sari told you to do this, that, and the third. Sari ain't never played Big Brother. No disrespect intended. But no one can tell you how to play a game they've never played before. You feel what I'm saying? That's just the truth. And this is why they did not give you another brother to work with. But we'll get to him a little bit later. Let's finish up Miss Cannon and the rest of her story and the reason why I believe she deserves to be second to last here. She says her age and experience will be an advantage to her. She thinks she will connect with younger people because her son is 24. I didn't get that correlation. Because your son is of a certain age, you think you automatically can connect with strangers of other cultures that are competing against you for money? Coming off of a Taylor Hale win? I'm sorry, I think that's a little intellectually lazy to assume, right? And honestly, that thought process, I'm just worried that there's some overconfidence on the black side here. And listen, can you blame them for being a bit overconfident, right? We got two back-to-back champs. If anyone should be overconfident, it should be the black players. I'm sure every black woman on this cast thinks it's going to be 5 more black people this time. Man, when they walk in, I can't wait to look very closely on premiere night at the black folks' face. Specifically Jared. When he look around and see no more brothers, he going to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Am I on the challenge? You feel what dig me, coach? No, let me stop. But anyway, all right, she doesn't think she has a relationship problem. She doesn't think she has a relationship problem unless someone in the house targets her just for being old. Now, that is highly likely, but once again, ladies and gentlemen, what I think the smarter play to do, if I was one of these players who aren't black, I would never go after Miss Cannon. I would never go after her first. You know why? Because she is the one with the least amount of chance of winning comps. So that is the one that you keep around. We've seen this strategy over and over again, right? I mean, Dan and Memphis let Jerry stick around because he was older. Jerry, of course, he won maybe one comp that season, but he was not no comp beast. Now, I give Jerry a lot of credit for his age. Fantastic shape. Great man. And I like the fact he G-checked Memphis, because I know a lot about Memphis now I didn't know before, especially how he treated David Alexander. I respect you a lot more in hindsight, Jerry. But with that said, Big Brother game, you can put a whole bunch of old people in the house, but that still doesn't necessarily guarantee that the jury will be made up of a lot of old people. You know, you could just be handing the younger crowd, who is more likely to win comps, an easy out to just whack an old person after an old person after an old person. Because week one of this game, let's be honest, there's not going to be that many people gunning for it. Sounds like Matt wants to gun for the week one HOH. Sounds like Cory wants to gun for the week one HOH. I believe Jarrett should gun for the week one HOH, right? But that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think the people who really need to gun for the week one HOH the most think they need to gun for it the most. And I think that's what's going to set them up for a Red Wedding Game of Thrones type scenario. You're on the Robb Stark side of the game. You feel it, dig me? But anyway, so she hopes people look at her as their go-to person, but I don't think after Taylor Hale's win, many non-black players will want to confide in Felicia. Taylor's win showed people that black women automatically win just for being at the end regardless of their resume. That's scary to non-black people. So you mean to tell me you can get out Indy and Brittany, two people who were Wayfair furniture, and that was more impressive than what Monty did to Michael in that double eviction, coach? Oh, that's scary to me. And that's scary to every non-black person walking into 25. Because if it doesn't matter who you got out, then the context no longer matters. If the context don't matter, then jury management is a myth. It's a facade. It's not real when it applies to you. When it applies to everyone else, it matters, but not for you. That's scary. That is the only way I see her being a pre-jury boot if people decide, no, we can't let her nowhere near jury. That's the only way I could see that. But even then, I see the fear being more fixated towards Mecole, being more fixated towards Kirsten, being more fixated towards Jarrett, because they are going to be the workhorses for Miss Cannon if she expects to make the end truly, because no one else will take her there besides them. Let's just keep it real here. And this is why I do kind of feel bad for her, you know, because I feel like someone like her, if she would have had the chance to play with a Monty, with a Terrence, and I know people feel a certain type of way about Terrence and stuff. I think Terrence would have, I think he would have been very loyal to a lady like this. I think he would have respected a lady like this, because a lady like this probably respects black men. She's old school. What we got to remember is old school has a different philosophy and mentality on life than new school. New school, we push a lot of other narratives. Old school, they understood the value of having a black man by their side. New school, they keep trying to push this, you don't need a black man by your side stuff. And when you constantly push that, as a black community, you let all these non-black people see that, and then they go, okay, you've just given us an excuse to not put another black man on the cast, because y'all don't even like it when we do it. It's almost as if it's your birthday party, someone gets you a present, and you just throw it in the trash. So the next time they go to your party, they don't even show up with a present for you, because they know you're not going to even care about it. That analogy is spot on. We were gifted 2 seasons that we'll probably never get back again, and we didn't have an 100% approval rating of people just celebrating and happy. You know, when I think about what Xavier went through after his win, how people were so ungrateful towards his gameplay entirely, the disrespect he had to endure. Like, man, it's like, bro, we played this completely wrong as a black community, and that's why we have to take some ownership for where we find the situation we find ourselves in today. We got to take some ownership. Now, here's the thing. This ain't my fault. Because I was trying to avoid this. I could see to the future. Y'all know I got the time stone at my disposal, coach. But I understand everyone don't have the time stone. So it's my job to teach. Unfortunately, we have some people in this community that think they have all the answers, even though they've only seen 2 seasons. And these are the same people that are responsible for why no one black will have a chance of making Final Three this season. And they were the main ones celebrating the hardest in October. Well, I don't want to see y'all being the main ones crying this season, because this is what you wanted, right? Straight black men not being able to be boring and dominant, even though being boring and dominant helped your faves get to the end. Okay, well, we're no longer boring and dominant. So now the game is now entertaining and unwinnable for black folks. But, hey, that's what y'all wanted. So it is what it is. So Taylor's win, like I said, it showed people a different side of things. It set a precedent that will surely impact the way all black women on this cast are treated from a strategic standpoint. Then when you compound that privilege and entitlement with Felicia's age of 60 plus, you have someone nobody will want to make the end even if she can't win a comp. Remember how Cynthia Bailey was going to win Celebrity Big Brother US Season 3 just because she was a woman and people hated Todrick? People were not going to reward Todrick even though he was the more deserving winner simply because he was a guy. So Todrick said, you know what? I'm willing to lose to Misha Tate instead. And Todrick is still more respected in this community than Monty. Let that sit in for a second. Understand, Todrick being viewed in a more respective light than Monty is also why we are in this position as a community. Because people habitually line step and they're not consistent with their arguments. This is why I think conversations will be had to target Felicia before jury. Do I expect production to allow her to go home early? Maybe not. Knowing production, they'll prefer Felicia in the jury over both Kirsten and Mecole. So even though I think Felicia could make jury, I believe on paper she is one of the worst players. She doesn't have multiple black men to hide behind. She is on a cast that is predominantly white after Taylor's win, and she isn't a real superfan in her core. Felicia believes lying about being 60 years old and instead saying she's 50 years old will make some huge difference in how the cast will perceive her, but I disagree. At the end of the day, the age they think she is doesn't matter because Taylor just won regardless. See, usually during a worst to first, when I talk about the immediate or the initial threat level when it comes to sisters, I always say the initial threat level is always at least 1 star higher than any other woman archetype. But coming off of a black woman winning, that makes it 2 stars higher than the average other woman archetype. Because they view you as the representative of the defending champion. And this is another reason why she scores so low. Because the expectation for her to live up to the Taylor's hype, compounded with her not being really equipped to ever live up to that hype, it creates an unwinnable situation for her. And at the end of the day, I would have wanted her to at least have more black men on her side. That way she could have an experience that was delightful, an experience that was wonderful, an experience that she could go home and remember. Now, listen, she's older. She's probably someone who could go right back to her life and not care what people online think. And I hope she is that type of person. But yeah, man, I just hope she isn't mistreated throughout this season. I just hope that. Now, she also is worried about admitting she's retired because people won't want her to win, believing that she has 2 retirement checks. I could create the argument she ruined her own chance of AFP by saying this during an interview because now fans know she has the money. And I personally believe fans have turned an about face as well. The same fans who were all down with making sure black women could get every AFP in existence. Watch what happens when this season is over. They're all going to jump on that Matt bandwagon. I'm calling this 100 days in advance, coach. I'm calling it 100 days in advance. All the people who were so used to these friends they had that love seeing black women win AFP and they were, we both hate black men together, yay! They're going to be the same ones showing you the real colors, pun intended and no pun intended. They're going to show you their real colors when the season's over, when they prefer a white person getting AFP. And then y'all going to be like, well, what changed? I'll tell you what changed. We back in the Stone Age. Now they don't have to pander no more. All right? So Felicia believes her natural self will carry her to the end, even though no black woman in the golden age could take themselves to the end but somehow in the Stone Age she expects to do what no other has been able to? Good luck with that, Felicia. You're going to need it. Now, in the ability to adapt, she got 3 stars out of 5. Likability and social game, 3 stars. Knowledge of the game, 2 stars. Pre-game strategy, 2 stars. Initial threat level, 3 stars. And that was Felicia. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and go to number 14, Coach.
Bye, Felicia.
Number 14 is none other than Bowie Jane. All right, very unique name, that one. To me, she's like a variant of Rockstar fused with Joey from BB16. If you know, you know. She kind of looks very similar to both of them. Now, Bowie Jane, aka Cyberpunk, she has 14 stars out of a possible 25. She's in 14th place. She's 45 years old, and her hometown is Melbourne, Australia. She has a nice Aussie accent, Aussie. Her current city is Los Angeles, California, so she's a West Coaster. And, of course, she's a DJ / barrister. All right, for a second, I thought they meant barista. I was like, hold up, you at Starbucks, Coach? But let me stop. But anyway, now, based on first impression, she's also a little meh. She doesn't seem like she's really here to do anything but be a gimmick. And what I mean by that, I don't mean disrespect. I mean, she's here to be a brand ambassador, right? Remember when Indy was picked, Indy Santos was picked for 24, and that casting decision made no sense? Understand, that was a money decision. They wanted more Brazilians to watch the show with a representative from where they were from. This is a similar decision. They want people from Australia to tune in to BBUS, and they hope by having someone with an Australian accent on, it will lead to more views and more eyes coming to the season. I'm not going to knock it. You know, I don't want this show canceled. If this helps a BB26 be born, I'm okay with it. You feel it, dig me, Coach. But do I believe this lady, Bowie Jane, do I believe she has any chance of making the end, though? Not at all, Coach. I think the Shadow Realm awaits. But let's get into Bowie Jane. Let's get into her. So, she claims she has watched some seasons, but she gives recruit vibes off. She feels like the indie casting slot from 24. Sure, Bowie Jane is the same age as Hisam, and it's possible for them to hit it off in the game as West Coast people, but BJ plans to lie about her age, believing it's a disadvantage to be 45 over 34. So Bowie Jane has the same stigma as Felicia, right? Oh, I want to lie about my age and make myself 10 years my junior. I'm sorry, Coach. I know y'all think it's so easy to get that off, but the average person, they can tell when you are of a certain age, right? I'm sorry, Bowie Jane. I don't think anyone is going to believe you 34, Coach. I don't believe it. I don't believe it, Coach. And I think you wear the type of clothing you wear to make yourself naturally look younger. And if it works out for you, kudos to you. I don't think it will. She clearly looks 40 plus, with all due respect. That first lie may make her an easy boot for an HOH in the pre-jury phase, and I don't see anyone risking their game for her early on either. The thing is, if she lies about her age to the older players, Hisam could be smart enough to see through that lie. Hisam could be her worst nightmare because of his geriatric background. Bowie Jane is going to have to find someone to trust. This age gap is way too vast between her and the other white women, so I think her only real route to the end is by laying low and working with Hisam, or hoping her lie gets off and possibly aligning with Izzy. Those are the only 2 real lanes I see her pushing her game down, because I don't really see her being a guy's gal necessarily, even though she's, a DJ, she could be, but I don't know. I think Girls just was attempted in 24. There could be women on this cast trying to do the Women's Alliance the right way this time. And seeing as a good portion of the women on this cast that aren't white are recruits, there's a good argument to be had that the superfan white women could be the main ones pushing for the Women's Alliance. Or maybe an alliance that has half women in it. Who knows? Now, Bowie Jane does have some secrets. She's a lawyer, which impressed me. but she doesn't really give off the vibe that she will be an Xavier type player, a player that, that lawyer skill set will help her immensely. She doesn't give that off, and it's because she gives that recruit vibe off, right? Lawyers, they have to do a lot of studying, a lot of reading. They have to learn a case in a short amount of time, and they have to be an expert on every single facet of it so they aren't surprised by someone's argument or counter argument for that matter. In that sense, I guess Bowie Jane in theory could be interesting. She could have some type of a mouthpiece. She could be someone that is hard to corner from a house meeting standpoint. But she also could be someone that's just easy to boot because she does stand out fairly easily in a house such as this one. Now, I agree with Sharon Tharp. When Sharon Tharp was watching her stuff, Sharon Tharp says it's really dumb to lie about your age, and I agree with that. If you're going to lie about that, you might slip up and accidentally tell people your real age later on in the game. And at the end of the day, you just don't want to lie about something that really is inconsequential. And I get it. Just like I mentioned, Felicia is walking into a game that she believed will be similar to the Golden Age period, hence why she believes that she'll be someone people will confide in, because she thinks we're in that same era still. I believe Miss Jane, I think she's going to fall into that same kind of category of believing she can get something off that won't be able to be gotten off. And I just think these lies that she wants to come into this game with, I think it's going to overcomplicate the delivery of her game. And early on, you really need to establish that social middle ground in order to build off of, right? And what I fear is someone is going to read it off her that she's lying about something as simple as that. And if you're lying about that, what should we trust you with? You know what I mean? So, when asked why she wants to play this game, all she said was that she loves it. But once again, go into deeper detail. She brought up how Australian Big Brother, how she watched that and how the rules are different from U.S. Big Brother because Australian Big Brother is more so based on popular vote, the Europeanized version from BB1, essentially. It seems to me she knows more about Australian Big Brother than BBUS. So, at the end of the day, I wish you the best, but I just have a feeling, like the other two mentioned, I just don't think you have a shot of winning this game because I don't think you're going to drive much strategy. I think you're going to be more so a passenger along the way. In the ability to adapt, she scored 3 stars out of a possible 5. Likability and social game, 2 stars. Knowledge of the game, 3 stars. Pre-game strategy, 3 stars. Initial threat level, 3 stars. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into 13th place. This player scored 15 stars out of a possible 25. And I know a lot of people, they think this guy has potential. I don't see it. It's none other than Luke Valentine. This guy, listen, if being cringe could win you the money, hey, bro, you already have the game won. I'm just saying what y'all are thinking. The guy's doing the people's eyebrow in his cast photo. I can't take the guy seriously. The guy thinks he's L.A. Knight or something. I don't know, bro. It's about to be night once you get... Because you don't know what you're walking into yourself. Now, he scored a possible 15 stars. He's Luke Valentine. His nickname is Luke Banner because I think he's a mixture of Mark Jansen fused with Kyle Carpenter from BB25. Now, I know this gives y'all PTSD in the RBR family. When someone's compared to Kyle, it makes us, double take. It creates lemon booty. I get it. But I think this guy, Luke, I think he's one of those guys who goes out of his way to say outlandish stuff just to see how you react to it. So I do think he'll be funny on feeds. I think he'll have moments where it's like, hey, man, does someone sneak him a Jackson Mickey? Wink, wink. Did someone slip him a Jackson Mickey in you know what I'm saying? But with that said, Coach, he's 30 years old. His hometown is Weston, Florida, and his current city is Coral Springs, Florida. So, you know what? The more I look at what he does and how weird he is, it makes sense because he's a Florida man. Oh, that's a good joke. Y'all know what he is. Let's stop playing. He walked into that. Now, he's an illustrator. Now, if the theme of this season truly is BB Comics, it is only right that they got a guy who know how to draw a bit. And you know what? I like anime. I love manga. I'm a mangaka. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's dope that you do have someone who's more of an artist here, right? And he's a guy who has to get it out of the mud as an artist. He has to make do with limited resources, you know? He's kind of like the Baudelaire family from what's that movie? Series of unfortunate events. Remember that family with Lemony Snicket? Remember how they was in that house and they had to just go in the drawers and cook dinner, and somehow they made that thing look like cuisine, 5-star meal? He's had to do that with art for a lot of years. So, listen, he is efficient. He does have some imagination. And I'm not trying to downplay the potential he could have, because he does look like a big guy, even though we only see his, torso up. But with that said, I don't know, man. I don't think he knows what he's walking into either, man. He gives recruit vibes off 100%. I mean, look at that shirt. That's recruit vibes, bro. If you was a super fan, it would be like the first day of school, coach. You would have your fresh outfit already picked out. You would have it ironed from last night, and you would be ready, coach. I'm talking the creases in the middle of the jeans, you fresh. This dude showed up like he came straight from Daytona Beach. You feel it, dig me, coach? Like, I'm just saying, the way he walking into this, it's like he ain't taking this too seriously. And that Shikamaru strategy could help him down the line. But right now, I'm not too sure. I think if he's not careful, he's going to be the one white guy on this cast that is a pre-jury boot. You feel it, dig me? Because right now it feels like none of them will be. We see what's going on. But anyway, he reminds me of Luke from the OC. Any of y'all ever seen that show? He kind of reminds me, welcome to the OC. I could see a scenario where he hits it off with Cory the most. Both are from Florida after all. Cory strikes me as a guy who appreciates a comic or two. And with the theme of this season feeling like it's comic-centric, I think that bodes well for someone like Luke because he's on a cast with 4 other white guys. Luke comes off as the biggest initial threat level, though amongst the white male contingent, so that could hurt him early on and force him to win the first HOH just to get the game moving down a path he is comfortable with. You know, I could create the argument Luke and Matt are in a similar situation, but I believe Matt will have the sympathy on his side because we've never seen a player with his specific disability play this game. And I think it's going to be so intriguing to see him on feeds. We'll get to him later. But in terms of Luke, though, I do believe he is in a unique pocket here where if certain players win early and if they make certain Stone Age decisions with their wins, with their power, Luke could end up just floating right to jury. No one could end up targeting him simply because who's going to waste an HOH on Luke? Like, this guy brings up random stuff. You know, Luke the type of dude, you lifting weights in the backyard, and all of a sudden, no, scratch that joke. I saw this man in an interview earlier today. I think he was talking to Mike Bloom, and Mike Bloom said, what is the one thing you fear the most about Big Brother heading into the fall? He said, what I fear the most is, we're going to have to experience Halloween in the Big Brother house. And I'm like, bro, huh? What? You would think a guy like this who is an illustrator would love that opportunity. You feel it, dig me? But that's just weird to me. So it tells me there's layers to this guy. I can never tell if he's being serious or not. And that may help him in the confessionals. That may help him appeal to a casual audience. But I think from a superfan standpoint, he's going to be a bit excruciating to break down because we won't be able to truly know if the stuff he's saying he truly means until he actually puts it into motion. So for that reason, I think Luke is going to be a roller coaster of a player to try to recap and analyze. I really do. Luke's strategy is to be dense on purpose, to dumb it down. He plans to hide his horoscope sign from the house. He believes being a Sagittarius makes him a threat. What is he talking about, dog? Listen, man. It's compelling, though. I got to give him credit. You know, that's a direct okay. He's most worried people will find him too hard to predict, but then he says he wants to be unpredictable. That was a contradiction. I had to document that in the notes. It made me ask the question to myself, does this guy know what he's doing here? It's as if they just, he was supposed to be on a different show, and they say, hey, bro, we need one more white guy. We got to guarantee a certain winner. Can you do this show for us? And he was like, hey, I got you, bro. All right, now, he claims to be a fish out of water that has grown legs. This guy is as bizarre as it gets. He's like Mark Jansen fused with Kyle. Luke said he's most worried about Big Brother. I already said that. Now, let's get into his score, ladies and gentlemen. He scored 3 out of 5 stars in the ability to adapt. He has 2 out of 5 in likability and social game. He has 3 in the knowledge of the game, 2 in pregame strategy, and 5 in initial threat level. I think the guy is going to be viewed as an initial threat until he opens his mouth, and then that's going to lower his threat level. I think the average person is going to see him and go, whoa, this dude might be a powerhouse. And then he's going to talk, and then they're going to go, oh, man, he ain't nothing. And I think that might help him in this game, right? Because if you are a big, strong guy, you need to really downplay your intellect as well. This is what Kirsten plans to do, as a lady, because she's like, I'm already attractive. I can't afford for people to know I'm also a brainiac, because then they're going to view me as an all-around player, and once they view me as that, the Shadow Realm awaits me too. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into 12th place. Luke, good luck to you. I have a feeling, just like the aforementioned, you also are going to be one of those players that's going to be interesting, but I just don't see a scenario where you win, hence why you were ranked in the bottom 4. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the next 12 players, ladies and gentlemen, the top 12. 12th place is none other than Mecole Hayes. And I know we're going to have people shocked about this placement, but let me explain. All right, now Mecole scored a 16 star out of a possible 25. She's 30 years old. She's from St. Louis, Missouri. Shout outs to the Midwest, but she currently stays in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, and her occupation is a political consultant. Okay, now usually if someone is in the political field, I give them some leeway. I believe that they're capable of utilizing certain strategies other people wouldn't think of. But I also have a bit pause when it comes to people from that background as well, because outside of Omarosa, not that many people from that background played well. Like didn't another guy play Celebrity Big Brother and he was from that background, like Tony Scaramucci, and wasn't he like a first boot of the game or something? Or no, he wasn't the first boot. I think they let him go. No, I think he was the first boot, but then he went home anyway. I forgot what happened. There was something that happened with Mooch where he wasn't a real player. Like, that was the twist all along. Like, oh, we fooled you. Mooch wasn't a real player. We just had him here. And it was like, huh? Like, we haven't seen many examples of someone with a political background being great at this game. Omarosa, she played very well for her time, but you got to understand, Omarosa played with other celebrities that may not have had skill sets as good as hers because of her own background. This is different. Mecole is coming into a game post-Taylor Hell's victory. She's coming into a game believing that she can throw her weight around by being the same politician that she consults. This is very worrisome for me because, once again, this is another sister walking into the game believing golden age settings still apply, not realizing all the sliders have been turned down. Every time she throws the ball, it wobbles and it gets picked off because it's on all Madden. And what I'm worried about is she thinks we're on Rookie. So the first thing that Mecole said was that she had to describe herself was that she's strategic. Being in politics, you have to be good at bringing people together for a common cause. Could Mecole have the skill set to become another Tiffany? Or will her political background and overconfidence backfire? Find out on the next episode of RBRZ. She said she is bringing main character energy, but coming off of Taylor's win, that could get her sent to the Shadow Realm pre-jury. I have a feeling she will see America as a threat. And by America, I don't mean the group of people and fans that will be rooting against her. I mean the girl on the cast, coach. All right, and by the way, production, y'all think y'all slick. Y'all have made sure America made sure that black women kept getting America's favorite player, and now you go ahead and bring a girl on the cast named America who is more souped up to be more successful than any black woman on the cast. I see the symbolism of what y'all are doing. I hope y'all see it too. But let's keep it moving. I have a feeling she will see America as a threat. The question is, will she lie about her background in politics? Because just like Kirsten, I think it will not be wise to admit to having such a skill set. Mecole wanted to play this game because Xavier and Taylor won. Recruit alert! Recruit alert! I mean, listen, I'm not mad that they inspired you, but what I don't like is when people ask you, who are you similar to? You say, I'm similar to Xavier and Tiffany and Brittany. Like, Brittany? There's a black girl named Brittany? Brittany Haynes? I know you ain't talking about Brittany Bledsoe. Wait, which Brittany are you talking about? Oh, not Brittany Bledsoe. Brittany from BB25. I forgot her last name. But I know you ain't talking about Brittany from BB24. So you got to be talking about Brittany Haynes. Then she said Janelle. Then she said Tyra Banks. I'm like, oh no. I just started getting pre-jury boot. I just started getting them vibes off. What does Tyra Banks have to do with the names you said before hers? What are we doing here, Coach? And since when has Tyra Banks been a political consultant with political acumen? That didn't make no sense, Coach. All right, now maybe she's trying to tell us she used to be a pageant girl, so she has that Tyra in her. I don't know, but she already says she's similar to Taylor, so I just didn't get that comparison there. Now, maybe to her that was great comedy. Maybe to her that was funny. But if she has that type of overconfidence on a cast that is clearly stacked against her, the deck is against her. It's like she's playing against Pegasus. It's like all her star chips are on the line. She's trying to rescue Mokuba. You get what I'm saying here? The Millennium Eye has been activated. He knows every move you're going to make. He knows when you've been bad. Look, at the end of the day, Coach, I don't know Mecole. I don't know. I hope when she gets into the game, she's able to temper down the character a bit, because unless Jared wins the first HOH, I don't really see anyone black gunning for the first HOH. And the scary part is I think Jared believes he shouldn't gun for it. Mecole wanted to play this game because Xavier and Taylor won. Another recruit confirmed. Literally 4 out of the 4 black players on this cast are all casuals. Think about that. And think about how 3 white women on this cast are all superfans. Think about how at least 2 white men on this cast are devout superfans. So while every black person on this cast is a casual, a luxury recruit, damn near every Apex Production pet candidate is a superfan on the white side. This is going to be a dog walking, okay? Listen, this is going to be Bud Crawford, Errol Spence, all right? Listen, this is going to be tough to watch. This is going to be Joe Calzaghe versus Roy Jones. When Roy Jones came down from heavyweight and he went against Joe Calzaghe, he got the mitts put on him, and it was like, how is he losing like this? It's going to look like that, Coach. I'm telling y'all right now. Calzaghe rules have been activated. Now, she's a newlywed, so congratulations to you with that. But because you're a newlywed, unfortunately, sister, I believe this is one less lane you can go down with your game. Let's be honest here. Taylor doesn't make Final 2 if she doesn't utilize the open box policy. All right, I'm being algorithmic friendly. Understand that. Taylor was only able to administer that strategy because she was not a newlywed. So you're walking into a season coming off of Taylor's win with a high profile. You think you're going to throw your weight around from a political standpoint, and you're going to manipulate people, smile in their face, kiss their baby, stab them in the back. I don't think you're going to have the space. I don't think they're going to trust you enough to turn their back for you to stab them in it. That's the key. I think they're going to walk backwards while they stare at you, and that's the thing. And this tells me she's going to have to be even more strategic just to get by. Her husband expects her to win the money, so she expects to. She will play this game like a politician, and she plans to smile in your face and stab you in the back. She claims she is a mixture of Xavier, Tiffany, Brittany, Janelle, and a little bit of Tyra Banks. She tried to name Janelle and fake it like she's this big fan, but she clearly is a casual who probably only seen BB14 outside of 23 and 24, because you got to ask yourself, you mean to tell me you're just like Janelle and Brittany and they played the same season? I don't know, Coach. I wasn't born yesterday. I think you exposed yourself right there. It is what it is.
That's tough. That's tough.
That's tough, Coach. That's really tough. Because at the end of the day, once again, it's just sad that they didn't set up anyone black to defend the belt with some real honor. Defend the belt with some real source material. Defend the belt with some real information up top. These players are walking into a game and they have no idea what's about to go down. Now, I don't think her personality will mesh well with this house. And since she's happily married, she has less routes to the end because she can't hook up with any guy and get him to drag her there. Her believing she can be a politician in the house after Taylor's win is exactly the type of entitlement that will get her sent home early. Not once did I hear her say she wants to lay low. Not once did I hear her say what her actual strategy was outside of using her occupation as a crutch to vaguely breeze past it. I think she saw Taylor win, and she assumes this season will be rigged for her just because she's a black woman. This isn't a good sign at all, because a player like America is just waiting to humble her. And the irony isn't lost on me, that America's favorite player is becoming the Black Woman Award, and now we have a lady on this cast named America who likely will target black women. None of this is lost on me. I'll be surprised if another black woman wins AFP, because this cast isn't built for it. This cast seems built for Matt to win it, as long as he does what he needs to do. Now, in the ability to adapt, she scored a 4 out of 5. I believe her political background will give her the opportunity to shake in and out. I do believe that. However, I believe the minute the game becomes Stone Age and she becomes the target or the pawn, I believe she will not be able to escape the block from week to week. I don't see it coming. And because we are now leaving that golden age behind, I think you're going to see production care a lot less about acquiescing to the wishes of the stands that throw fits online, because this is the 25th season. They want this to be a success. You see, they got Jane over here from Australia to make this money. They want to make sure this is a success no matter what. They cannot risk the biscuit. They know with this writer strike, they're going to have more people, more of a casual audience, more of a white fan base that may have never given their show a chance. So this is their opportunity to introduce them to a Stone Age type game. That way they can turn them into the transplant that continues to watch from 26 on. So I need to break down the science of this, because I know from an emotional standpoint, people look at it and go, this does not make sense. But when I break it down, it makes more sense. But we still have a right to be disappointed. I'm just saying, it makes more sense when you look at it this way. Likability in social game, she's 3 out of 5. Knowledge of the game, 3 out of 5. Pre-game strategy, 2 out of 5. Initial threat level, 4 out of 5. For a whopping 16 stars. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to 11th place here. All right. Mecole, good luck to you. I think you're going to need it. Now, this player we're about to get into, I don't really know how to judge her game. I think she's a late replacement. I think she's an alternate. It's none other than Blue Kim. All right, now, first of all, a dope name. I got to give you credit. That's a dope name. But the Sextina, Aquafina, BoJack Horseman vibes are just oozing through her. And listen, I'm not someone who's a big fan of cultural appropriation. Not that I'm saying she's doing that necessarily, but she's got a new nickname, y'all. I call her Dasani, because she's giving off them Aquafina rival vibes. You feel what, dig me, coach? I'm sorry, I mean no disrespect, but when I first saw her talk, I said, ooh, this is a little cringy. It's a little cringy. I don't know. All right, now, you could win me over. But when we're on a cast that's set up for sisters and brothers to fail, and you only have one Asian person on it. And I don't know how Asian fans feel about this, by the way. Comment below and give me your thoughts on this. And listen, y'all might believe I don't have a right to speak on this because I'm not Asian. I'm just giving y'all my opinion on this from afar. I'm pretty sure the average Asian would rather see another DX type that's here to just win and not, market themselves as an influencer after the season by doing outlandish Julie Vu type stuff. I'm sure the average Asian fan would prefer that than this, with all due respect. And me being someone who's black, it is a bit cringy seeing some of this, right? All right, now, Blue Kim, she got 16 stars out of a possible 25. Her age is 25, and her hometown is Riverside, California. Her current city is New York, and her occupation is a brand strategist. Now, she seems like a late replacement. Because she is the only player who had to do her interview in front of like a green screen. She didn't do it in the DR. Blue Kim believes Big Brother is all about strategy in the social game. And since she's a brand strategist already, she believes all she has to do is be her natural self to win over Houseguests. Now, I think she's in trouble too, because, when there's no one else on the cast that looks like you, and when you carry yourself kind of like a diet black woman, I mean, I just got to keep it a bean there. You're a Splenda black woman, basically, how you move. I think you're setting yourself up for America to humble you just the same. I'm just saying what people are thinking here, Coach. I'm just saying what people are thinking here. But with that said, hey, I just hope for all of the African American vernacular that she likes to use, I hope she's loyal to black folks this whole season. That's all I can hope for. Because if she's that, then I don't mind the appropriation. Because it ain't, because you really are down like that. But if you see black folks getting pagonged, if you see the Hunger Games, and you decide, hey, I'm jumping on code with y'all, screw them folks over there, then I'm going to need you to speak with King's English after that, too. You feel it? Dig me, Coach? Listen, I'm just saying what y'all are thinking. I just got the heart to say it. All right? It is what it is. All right? Now, her biggest obstacle is the fact that nobody looks like her on the cast, but based on the way that she uses African-American vernacular English, I would expect her to feel more comfortable with black players than others. She plans to lie about her job, win comps, and play a mean social game. But the delay in her delivery worries me. She may be a recruit reading from a teleprompter a bit. I hope she impresses me as a player because I'm not a big fan of Sextina Aquafina coming to Big Brother, but I digress. If she was an alternate all along with this banging personality, I wonder why they didn't make her a lock for the cast automatically. Remember how we had that same question about Joseph? Like, why was Joseph an alternate initially? You know, why couldn't Joseph and Marvin both be on the cast? I kind of feel this way about her, even if I may have some questions about her personality a bit. I still feel as if, like, she should have been a lock for this cast, and it should have been preferably a white woman that was taken off for someone else. But that's neither here nor there. Now, if she was an alternate all along, it's probably because she doesn't really know the game. Because I can't see them keeping her off the cast when she adds so much needed diversity from an Asian standpoint. Now, I know we have other Asians technically on the cast. I know that, right? But I do believe, though, that she should have been a lock no matter what. She shouldn't have had to be a late inclusion, and now I want to know who she replaced. But in the ability to adapt, ladies and gentlemen, Blue, Kim, scored 3 out of 5 stars. In the likability and social, I gave her 5 out of 5. I do believe that's going to be her only road to the end. She's got to be the social butterfly. She's got to be the one everyone just likes to be around. And it's going to be interesting to see if she hits it off with the black women on this season. Because in theory, you know, they could have a core 4 there. You know, it could be a Felicia, Kirsten, Mecole, and Blue Kim type of alliance, and that could shock the world right there. I mean, that could do wonders. But it could also go the other way, where she decides, hey, man, y'all are a sinking ship. We're back in the Stone Age, so I'm going to do what Asian folks did back in the Stone Age. I remember what Helen was okay with back during BB15. Don't think I forgot. Why everyone tries to feel sorry for her because of Wall Comp Gate, I remember how Helen didn't mind what was happening to them black folks. So that's why I feel the way I feel. But that's how I feel. So knowledge of the game, she scored 3 out of 5. Pre-game strategy, 3 out of 5. Initial threat level, 3 out of 5. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the top 10. 10th place is none other than, and some people may think he's too low here. Some people may think he deserves to be higher, but in my honest opinion, I'm unbiased here. He's set up to fail. It's Cerie's son, Jarrett Fields, a.k.a. The Legacy. If Monty was the man who pulled off the prophecy, this young man here, he is representation of the legacy, right? They say you are a legacy when you are the descendant of a great and you are trying to follow in their footsteps to also be just as great. And I thought it was dope how Jarrett referred to his mom as the Michael Jordan of Survivor. I don't agree with that because Michael Jordan won championships, but I digress. Listen, you got to big up your OG, though. I mean, I'm not going to tell you to not big her up. But with that said, though, I do agree with the idea that if people know that you're LeBron James' son, they're going to assume you got game. So at the end of the day, it behooves him 100% to hide his true self, to not show people who he truly is. But see, this is where things get interesting. Because we have another player on this season named Cory, who's related to a guy named Jag Wurtenberger, who was on Survivor 42. You know, the guy that Marianne, the black girl who eventually won that season, had the hots for, and he was the same guy that didn't really acknowledge her existence until she won the game. I'm just saying. Hey, I'm just saying. But with that said, I'm just throwing in the context there. Because I know there's a lot of people who will say, oh, well, Zach liked black women, so maybe his brother Cory also liked black women, and maybe he'll align with the black folks. I think you're into some Disney Plus. Listen, it does not behoove Cory at all to work with black folks on this season. Cory gonna go where he need to go. You wanna be where everyone knows your name. You feel it, dig me? And every time a black person go home, they gonna put some drinks in the sky and say cheers. You feel it, dig me? For real, for real. Now, Jared Fields, a.k.a. The Legacy, got 17 stars out of a possible 25. All right? I'm rooting for the brother. All right? I think he has the opportunity to do something real positive here. And I think he could be the new star player for this back to the Stone Age approach that production is pushing. And I believe production chose him with an ulterior motive. Hear me out here. All right? So they see that no matter what a black man does, he's always hated. Whether he does what people say black men don't do, or whether he does what's best for himself, no matter what, the black man's hated. What I think production did was I think they made a decision. All right, if y'all gonna just hate black men anyway, we're not gonna pick black men unless they automatically have the rub off and the approval of a black woman already. Because in their minds, they figured it out. Y'all only like black men when they are subservient to sisters. And this guy is the son of a sister that has the respect of the community. So they decided we're going to pick him, give him no black men to ally with him. That way he's destined to fail. And when he does fail, he'll be appreciated for failing. Understand, this was very strategic. Because even production knows the only way straight black men will really be appreciated is when we fail. Don't think about that for a second. Even production knows that. And we allowed that narrative to become the new narrative because we didn't appreciate brothers for what they were doing during the golden age. So now we got this brother who everyone wants to like, and he's set up to fail because y'all wouldn't appreciate the man that y'all refused to like. Whoo, that's deep when you think about it. That's deep. Now, Jared is 25 years old. He's from Norwalk, Connecticut. And his occupation is an exterminator. So it needs to be stated. This man is well-trained in getting rid of rats and snakes. All right? So if y'all try some weirdo stuff with him, all right, he gonna get rid of you now. But the question is he going to believe he needs to win the comp in time to be able to take the first shot on the people who are trying to get him out? Because what I'm worried about, brother, is you're not going to know when they're going to want you out because they're going to play the game well with you. You're going to believe you're blending in. You're going to believe no one believes you're Cerie's son. But all the while, there's going to be this foil that production picked on purpose to foil you, known as Cory. And his brother already went on Twitter and said, I wanted to answer this question specifically because I know it could have huge ramifications. Cory has watched Game Changers more than once, and he knows the Jarrett David vs. Goliath story. My gut says he doesn't recognize him, but it is totally possible. So you got to ask yourself, this production team gave this brother no other brother to relate to bounce ideas off of. They gave him nothing. So they basically forced him down the path of, hey, you better go work with Jag. That's really your only option. You better hope Jag is Moose. You better hope you're '07 LeBron Herman, brother, because you're screwed. And this is why people are saying this reminds them of a BB Can cast because of how screwed the traditional black man truly is. But with that said, Coach, it's just sad that when we finally get a black man, even all of the feminists like, because of who his mother is, he's set up to fail because of the feminists and what they did in the past. It's hilarious. So even the people y'all like, y'all are sabotaging without realizing y'all are sabotaging them because you refuse to show appreciation to the people who actually paved the way for him to be on this season now. This is why I pay homage to Julie Chen and give her respect. Because I know what she did paved the way for Arissa Cox. Do you really believe Arissa Cox and BB Can would exist if Julie didn't do this show for 20 plus years? Do you really believe Jared would be on this cast if Monty didn't fulfill the prophecy and get Taylor that win? He might not be on this cast if Cirie didn't win the Traders, which we all know was just like 24. Rigged. Excuse me. Something was in my chest. The truth, though. This man is full of charisma, very confident. With his mother coaching him up before the season, he could pull off an unexpected masterclass of the game. But once again, I don't believe in that Tron Legacy Disney Plus stuff. This brother is screwed, bruh. He's two-ball, screwball, screwed. Kirsten is the obvious showman's interest for my boy. I'm rooting for you, dog. But he said in interviews he don't want a showman's because he wants to lay low. My guy, you better go have fun because you ain't making jury the way it's looking right now anyway. You might as well go out like Swaggy. See? Parental advisory. I'm just saying. You feel me? I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. I hope they hit it off, but it doesn't have to be romantic. I just want them to have each other's backs a bit. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to see more black love on this show. Both Jared and Cory are related to Survivor alumni. In theory, they could hit it off or be the biggest rivals. Jared is the one whose game is most at risk if players find out who he is related to than Cory is, because Cirie was a way better player than Zach ever was. And see, that's the thing. Cirie has always been the one people viewed as the Rob goddess until the Traders was incepted in America's soil, right? She was always the one people viewed, oh, she's so good at the game, but she can't win that final comp to reach the end, yada, 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 yada. So, it's so interesting to me that production would choose to have two people who are like related to Survivor players, but they would pick the dude who's on the white side. He's a devout super fan of Big Brother. His family member played Survivor. His family member was like the first boot of his season. So even if someone finds out on the cast his brother played Survivor, does that really hurt his game? Meanwhile, if people find out who his mom is, all of a sudden, they look at him as Teen Gohan during the Cell games. Very unfair dynamic. And once again, I must stress to you all, they made it this way by design, okay? If production really wanted Jared to have an even playing field, the same playing field Cory has been given, they would have given him a Scottie Pippen to play with. They gave this man nobody. They gave him Sasha Pavlovich. They gave him Anderson Varejao. They gave him Eric Snow. Huh? Like, come on, man. And then when the brother don't get buckets, people gonna act like he a flop? Nah. Context matters here. Ain't no flopping on a season like this, brother. You either prevented the inevitable for as long as you could, or you was just taken out early. It's no in between there. You know what I'm saying? But with that said, I'm just hoping he walks into the house, sees the room, and go, ooh, I need this first HOH. F all that stuff my mom was talking about. Sorry. I'm sorry, mama. I never meant to hurt you. I never meant to make you cry, but tonight I'm about to win that HOH. You feel it? Dig me? That's what you need to do, dog. Tap into that inner Marshall Mathers, bruh. You feel it? Dig me? I'm talking spitting bars with exhibit by the food truck. You feel it? Dig me, coach? I'm keeping it real with you, right next to the Ford plant. All right? But anyway, let's keep it moving. Now, I got Jared. He doesn't know what to expect. He says he is this big fan, but he admitted he isn't a super fan. So, listen, I got it. You're a recruit. Listen, Cirie's your mom. You most likely love Survivor. You were about to be on a season of Survivor, but you weren't able to make it on because of certain circumstances. That's at least what the rumor suggests. So this is like the show you settled for. And I think it's sad because it would truly be quite the L. And I don't mean this from an embarrassment level on your end, bro. I mean, it would just be quite the L if you were kept from the show you really were passionate about. And instead, production used you as this tool, this likable tool, to pacify the black audience as they bring the Stone Age back by handing them a black man that was acceptable to them. To me, the amount of engineering, social engineering it takes to go out of your way to screw over this brother this way, knowing he's so loved regardless, and knowing he'll never be rewarded AFP because no matter how much people love his mom, he still is a black man. Man, listen, production, y'all y'all setting him up for the red wedding too. Now, he plans to be flexible like Walter. Okay, so clearly he's a fan of Bruce Lee. If you're a fan of Bruce Lee, I'm a fan of you, huh? Bruce Lee. I grew up on those movies. All right, that's 100. All right. He plans to treat everyone with respect. That's the wise approach to have, especially when two black people have won back-to-back years. You should not go into this feeling yourself overly. All right. You should be humble in these scenarios. But my biggest critique, though, brother, is Cerie's opinion of the game you should play. With all due respect, Miss Cerie, it's irrelevant because Cerie has never played a reality TV show as a black man. Black women and black men are always judged on different levels by non-black people. The black man is always painted in a villainous light even when his intentions are good because that is the easy thing to do. Whereas sisters, it's not that easy to do that to them because people actually do fear cancel culture in that sense. So you can't really tell him how to play because you've never been in his shoes in any season you've played in, Survivor or Traitors. And for that reason, I kind of wish she would have just told him, hey, play the game you want to play. Don't try to live up to who I am because you can't play the way I played because you're more athletic than I am. You're going to be viewed as a bigger initial threat than I would be viewed as in a Big Brother game. And for that reason, I really do hope he took his OG's advice with a grain of salt. Now, he doesn't want to showmance, and he doesn't want to win too many challenges. Now, the problem is, I think he needs a showmance and to win comps just to make jury. His strategy would be great if the cast was still golden age based, but unfortunately, his strategy is outdated because the cast isn't what he is expecting to be on. He refuses to tell anyone who his mom is, which is smart. But once again, the Cory dynamic, that could come back to haunt him something serious. And before you know it, he's the first boot, right? You just never know there. He believes he has this winning mentality that he will transplant into the game. And he plans to win inside the house. But with no other black man in the game to relate to or have his back, he has little to no adaptability once he becomes a target. And once that happens, he has to keep winning to stick around, which just puts his game on a timer regardless. So, at the end of the day, Coach, that's why he ranks as low as he does. Now, in the ability to adapt, he's a 2 out of 5. I believe once things go against him, once he faces some adversity, it's almost impossible to recover from it based off how the cast is stacked against him. Likability and social game, I gave him a 4 out of 5. I think he's going to be likable. I think he's going to be someone people enjoy to be around within the house. But I also believe the average person, the average non-black superfan, they know what I know. These 3 black women are only a threat if that black man is still around. The minute we take him out, they're immediately weak. And I'm saying that with all due respect. But when no black woman has ever touched Final 2 without a straight black man taking her there, that is the real narrative that a lot of these people in old media never want to give straight black men credit for. The fact that we are the only ones who actually keep fulfilling the prophecy. Whereas everyone else, every other archetype, including the archetypes that these other people in the media root for, they never take black women to Final 2. But they're the main ones telling you they love seeing black women shine. Well, those two things can't be both true at the same time, can they? See, my job is to get y'all to see that some of y'all have been played. I don't think the RBR family has been played, but I think a lot of people outside of the RBR family has been played. Woo! I think they got finessed by a lot of jargon. A lot of jargon that they didn't really understand, but at the time they liked it because it ended up in a black woman being handed more money. But if some of y'all could go back, and just give that black man just some gratitude for taking Taylor to the end, knowing that would lead to 2 black men on this cast, knowing that would lead to the sisters that y'all do like on this cast having a fighting chance, I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all would go back in the time machine and do that. But this is why. It's so easy in the moment to not care what I have to say. And then when things hit the fan, people sign up to the Patreon because they go, dang, my bad, bro. I should have listened. You've been right for so many years, but it always is that moment I get emotional and I don't want to hear you out. My bad, I fell for their game again. It won't happen again, bro. We back in the Stone Age. We need you again, bro. Come back. I get it. But with that said, man, people need to heed these warnings, man. Because these warnings I give them out of the kindness of my heart because I don't like seeing y'all blindsided. But yeah, so at the end of the day, he has 2 in the ability to adapt, 4 in likability and social, 3 in knowledge of the game, 3 in pregame strategy, 5 in initial threat level. Nothing you can do about it, brother. You got a 5, man. Straight up Cinco status. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead. Oh, yeah, I forgot I took his picture down. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into 9th place, ladies and gentlemen. 9th place is another player that I think that he needs to work with, but I think she is just as screwed because he is screwed. Understand, Kirsten's game was heavily reliant on not only our brother Jared being set up for success, but also that there would be another black man there to be a possible shield for Jared so he could get her where she needs to be. People forget, if Terrence wasn't on BB24, Michael Bruner would have targeted Monty when he targeted Terrence. If Monty's taken out, Taylor never scratches final 2. No one else in that jury was going to take Taylor there besides Monty. Brittany wasn't going to do it. She voted her out, remember? Alyssa wasn't going to do it. Kyle wasn't going to do it. Michael wasn't going to do it. Brittany wasn't going to do it. Turner wasn't going to do it. Indy wasn't going to do it. Even Joe wasn't going to do it. He was part of the pound. No one was going to take her to final 2. And that's why she had to go to Pound Town with Monty. You fella dig me thugging with my rounds. But with that said, Kirsten Elwin has 17 stars out of a possible 25. Her nickname is Ironheart because she's a genius. And I wanted to think of a name from Black Panther 2, and I think she fits that mantra. I didn't want to call her Shuri, so I went with Ironheart because I think she's going to bring the steel. And she's 25 years old. Her hometown is Orlando, Florida, via Dominica. Okay, so she's Dominican Republic. I guess that's what that means. Shout outs to you. Shout outs to all my people from Haiti as well. All right. Her current city is Houston, Texas. All right. Everything is bigger in Texas. And her occupation is a molecular biologist. All right. That's enough syllables in that job description to tell me she getting that paper. And I ain't mad at you, sister. All right. Keep doing great stuff out here. Now, she's confident and very smart, also attractive. If she's truly smart, she lies about her job and she plans to, especially coming off of Taylor's victory. Because if I was in that house, knowing what Kirsten does for a living, I'd be terrified of her in a puzzle comp. And physically, she's also in very good shape. Seems to be a well-rounded player. She's the same age as Jared as well. So I'm rooting for that showmans. But this is another example that production don't want to see black love either because they were the ones that talked Taylor out of staying with Monty, remember? So now do you see why it's not more black men on this cast? They want Jared taken out. So someone like Kirsten is forced to capitulate and possibly swirl. Because isn't that what Taylor really wanted all along? So you got to understand there's a different prophecy being fulfilled. You got to pay attention. And this is once again another thing I tried to warn y'all about. She came to this country as a young girl, and that upbringing has driven her to become the success story that she is today. Kirsten wants to align with a strong alliance out the gate and steamroll everyone else. Once again telling me she thinks we're still in the golden age, you guys. She will lie about her job and say she's a swimsuit designer. Very smart. She doesn't want anyone to know she's cute and smart. She believes perseverance and persistence will get her the W. She gives off big recruit vibes. She talks a big game and claims to be 10 steps ahead, but she doesn't say anything that tells me she's really a super fan. And if you pay close attention to the Mike Bloom interview, here's what I was hinting towards. Go back and watch this and y'all tell me what y'all see. They edited the interviews in an order to clown Kirsten the most. Y'all can actually check this out right now. Bowie Jane, around the 10-minute mark, specifically said this, and I quote, and this was after Mike Bloom asked them all, do you think you have what it takes to win the game, right? This is what Bowie Jane said. She said, anyone who says they will come in here and win this game is complete rubbish. Literally, about 5-6 seconds later, it jump cuts to Kirsten, and you know what's the first thing that comes out of her mouth? I deserve to win this game because I came to this country as a little girl. This was production subtly. Now, this could have been Mike Bloom, but I think this was production. I think this was, I don't know. I think Mike Bloom's part of production at this point. He getting them exclusives. Hey, do your thing, Mike. I ain't mad at you. But with that said, pay attention to that 10-minute mark. They're low-key subtly telling you that Taylor Hale stuff is in the past. Because now they're clowning the sisters that are literally spitting images of what Taylor's archetype was supposed to be. And I know there's going to be Taylor Hale fans that believe that, oh, CBS loves Taylor. She was part of the 25th anniversary. If they love her so much, why they set up all her copies and all her they clone Tyrones to fail? Ooh, cat got your tongue there. See, the truth is they rewarded her to get over that hump so they could push forward and go back to the Stone Age. And that's the truth no one really wants to confront. But it is what it is. Now, no more pandering is happening during 25, and this is what I warned would happen if these stands wouldn't start acting more like adults. Go see the Mike Bloom interview for yourself, and you'll notice the subtle sneak diss at Kirsten, you know? And that's the thing, y'all. You know, when you look at Mecole's game, she wants to play more aggressive style. Kirsten wants to play more of a laid-back style, let the game come to her more. The problem is, if Mecole's playing aggressive, and if that turns her into the first target among the 3 black women, once Mecole is gone, Kirsten now, who does she have left? Right? Because we all expect Jared to be targeted before Mecole, unless Mecole just goes completely, she just loses her head. We all still expect Jared to get targeted first. So, if I had to predict, I think Kirsten and Felicia are, in all likelihood, going to be the last black people left. They're going to be the last 2 black people. I think Mecole and Jared, it's already set in stone, they're going to be taken out as the first 2 black people in the game. Just based off how the cast is stacked against those 2 personalities specifically. You know? And once again, ladies and gentlemen, I must ask the question, was it worth it? In the ability to adapt, Kirsten scored a 4 out of 5. Likeability and social, a 4 out of 5. Knowledge of the game, 3 out of 5. Pre-game strategy, 4 out of 5. Initial threat level, 4 out of 5. So, as you all can see, she really does have a very consistent skill set based off my scoring system. But she's not surrounded by the team that can get the best out of her consistent skill set so she can be a star player, you know? She's basically carrying Chicago Sky right now. You know, she's Candace Parker settings. You know what I'm saying? And that's why Candace Parker left. She said, all right, I'm tired of this. But anyway, so now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get to 8th place. We're now halfway through the cast, ladies and gentlemen. We got through the first 8. Now let's get through the second 8. 8th place is none other than Matt Klotz, a.k.a. Mr. Brolympic himself. I'm very high on this guy. I didn't know the certain things that he had in his locker. I thought he would be at a huge disadvantage because, ladies and gentlemen, let me be specific. He is hearing impaired. He is deaf. He is medically deaf. So he is diagnosed as deaf, pardon me. So he's going to have certain disadvantages in theory. You know, I thought walking into a season like this, because Big Brother is a game heavily operated with whispering, I thought a guy like Matt, if he doesn't win comps, he's screwed because he's going to be so out of the loop. There's so many things that happen so fast in these little tiny rooms, these whispers, blah, 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 blah. The information moves. It's like the telephone game, and you got to be able to keep that information in, hold on to it, know when to get rid of it, that type of thing, when to spread the information. Now, Matt scored an 18 star, and considering the fact that he is hearing impaired, I believe this is one of the more impressive scores of all time. Imagine what his score could have been if he didn't have certain handicaps on him in the game. There's an argument to be had. He could have easily been top 3 here because we all can see the spitting image of lifeguard Jesus here. You know what I'm saying? That's why one of his nicknames is They Clone Tyler. You know, because clearly they didn't show the Bailey-Tyler fight during the 25th anniversary because they wanted Matt to come in with no hate. But that's neither here nor there. Now, Matt is 27 years old, ladies and gentlemen. His hometown is Cameron Park, California, but his current city is Baton Rouge, Louisiana, all right, where the crawfish be at. His occupation is Deaf Olympics gold medalist. Now, I didn't know that was a job, but I mean, that's a hell of a resume there. I mean, anyone who's a gold medalist, you have to respect because the playing field was leveled and he was the best man on that day or woman on that day. I have big respect for people who compete in the Olympics. You compete against people from all walks of life. It doesn't matter how big, strong, tall, fast you are. You got to be able to handle that pressure. Because he has shown the aptitude to be able to handle pressure in the past, I'm actually very high on him to be able to clutch through comps, despite the fact he won't be able to hear very well. And I believe production is going to try to level the playing field a bit by having less comps that require you to hear during the season, at least while he sticks around. So I do believe he has a really good shot at not only making jury, but I think he's a lock for America's favorite player because I think he's just that feel-good story every season needs. And I think the average person will just feel good about casting a vote on him, especially since Felicia just admitted to us all she's getting 2 retirement checks every month. The average person is not going to think she deserves the money over him, and in my opinion, Felicia was the only black person who had a shot at AFP over Matt. So that was the reason why I said what I said when I was speaking on Felicia's game earlier. Now, going to be interesting to see how a deaf player handles the pressure of an environment that involves whispering. Sure, Danielle and Lisa use sign language throughout BB3, but I'm not entirely sure if that is still permitted within the rules. Being deaf could be what garners tons of sympathy from the House, making him an automatic member of the jury, or it could make him into an easy target if socially everyone else feels like he is on easy mode because of it. With that said, he's Southern and from Louisiana. Well, actually, technically, he's not Southern. He's from California. I forgot about that. This could allow him to hit it off well with the Camerons of the world or the Reds of the world, or he could end up hitting it off well with maybe Jane, the DJ from California. You just never know. I mean, that would be an unlikely duo, right? A DJ hitting it off well with a man who's hearing impaired. I think that would actually be kind of dope of a tag team on the low. That would be kind of fire, but he does give off recruit vibes. He admits comps that involve listening will be his weakness. It makes me wonder if production has less of these comps to make it more fair to Matt. Being a recruit who also is hearing impaired puts Matt at a huge disadvantage if he's a very impressive athlete. If this game was purely physical, he'd rank a lot higher on this list. But because it's a game that is constantly evolving, where interpersonal relationships are paramount, where whispering is of most importance to gaining an advantage over your opponent, it puts Matt in a position where he needs allies to do all the strategizing for him to an extent so he can just focus on winning comps. Hisam said he wanted a ride or die that just wins comps. In theory, Matt could be exactly what the doctor ordered, pun intended there. Matt could serve that purpose, but would Hisam want to carry an ally strategically the entire way through? I don't know. There are other players that can win comps and be more of a strategic asset to an alliance, hence why I believe Matt's game has a ceiling to it that is almost impossible to break through. I'm intrigued by how feeds will play out with him, however. He is gunning for the first HOH because he's smart enough to realize he has to. The social dynamic dictates he needs that HOH room so he can get that alliance moving, so he can be in that core group, so he can just focus on comps after that. Because if he doesn't have the HOH room, he is forced to likely listen to more whispers. If he has the HOH, though, he can build connections without whispering, and that could be what balances the scales to possibly get Matt to the end. Nothing is impossible. He says he can read anyone's lips far away and up close. This I found very interesting. So is he like Nick Cannon from Drumline? Does he slow time down and he can read the lips? Because if that's the case, coach, oh no, this man might be the most scary player because he might know information you don't believe he could know, and then he turns on you at the perfect moment and you can't even be bitter about it. Like, imagine that. You got by a guy you thought would never even hear you say a quote, when from a hallway away, he just saw your lip move and he knew you was throwing shade at him? Nah. That long-range ability, that Sharingan that this guy Matt possesses, it's going to be key to his win conditions this season. He's going to have to use it. He's going to have to utilize the Byakugan as well. So maybe that will help him overcome the whispering if he doesn't win HOH Week 1. I personally believe it behooves Matt to work with black people because he will stand out like someone who is black this season. I'm just being honest. I think him and Jared both need to win early HOHs because both are set up to fail. Now, I would love to see a scenario where Matt and Jared work together because it will be what I wanted Tyler to do with Swaggy C once upon a time. I'll never forget how Swaggy C got taken out and how Tyler, all these things Tyler did towards with Caitlyn just to get Swaggy C out. It just always felt like there was something personal there. You know what I mean? It really, it always did. It was just like, you the dude who took that black girl from me? Oh no, I can't have that. You gotta go. Like it was almost as if he felt like the black girl deserved to be with him, even though he was flirting with Caitlyn at the time. It was really weird. But in the ability to adapt, Matt scored a 2 out of 5. I do believe he can adapt, but I believe because he has certain things he'll have to overcome within the game, he naturally scores low until I see more. Likability and social, same thing. I believe he'll be likable, but I think from a social standpoint, once again, he's more middle of the road, 2 out of 5. Knowledge of the game, same thing. Recruit vibes, doesn't really seem like a super fan, even though he is someone that we have a lot of rootable interest in. Now, pregame strategy, though, I give him a 5 out of 5 because he's coming in with the perfect mindset and mentality to execute and get the job done. In initial threat level, I also feel very similar about his game. 5 out of 5 stars. I think this guy is in great shape. I think when people see him, they're going to think Tyler Crispin. And until he admits to them all that he's deaf, they're going to immediately assume he's a massive threat. And maybe, just maybe, him announcing that is what he needs to lower his threat level permanently for the rest of the game. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and move on over to 7th place. With 19 stars out of a possible 25, here's a player that I think a lot of fans are underestimating. But I think based off of how the numbers shake out, this player could be around for a long time, just like Brittany was around for a long time during 24, is none other than Izzy Gleicher, a.k.a. Iceberg Izzy. All right. Now, Izzy has 19 stars out of 25. She is 32 years old. She's from New York, New York, and she is a professional flutist. Okay. She wants to be a strong and powerful representative for the queer community. She claims to be this huge fan, but only started watching the show in 2023. So I don't know how Izzy plans to be this great player when she is still such a casual. She claims to have watched all 24 seasons twice in less than 6 months, but that sounds like Disney Plus. If Izzy is this bad at lying to us, she gonna be terrible in the game at lying to them. I'm just saying what y'all thinking, Coach. I'm just saying what y'all thinking. Come on, bruh. You think I'm goofy? There's no way you watch 24 seasons twice in 6 months. There's no way, Coach. There's no way. Izzy should benefit from this cast being older. She plans on turning on that comp beast down the stretch, but wants to throw comps early on. Izzy believes socially people will be feeding her information that she can use to stir the pot to her advantage. But who are these people? Who are these players Izzy thinks will be this forthcoming with information? Reilly and America are bigger super fans, so they likely will be better socially and strategically with the option of being in showmances, which Izzy doesn't have. So Bowie Jane, by process of elimination, could be the only other person I think that would confide in Izzy long term, outside of maybe, I don't know, Hisam maybe? I don't know. Maybe Red, maybe Felicia. I just don't see her route to the end with a cast like this. I don't see her route to Final 3 with a cast. Let me be specific. But I do see her possibly making Final 6 relatively easy, depending on who is the pre-jury boots this season. I don't see her fitting in with the dominant alliance of the season the entire way through. I see her as the player people use as maybe a +1 parachute strategy possibly to get to a certain point, then they cut her, and then they move forward. Because you got to understand, just like some people are terrified to sit at the end with the black woman, certain people are going to be terrified to sit at the end with her as well for similar reasons, because identity politics has become stronger than your actual what you've done in the game. And for certain players, they're not going to want to risk that biscuit. They're not going to want to be embarrassed, So they're going to make business decisions when it comes to the end of the game. Now, Izzy was the only player to predict this season's theme could be BB Comics, so that gave her a little bit of credit in the bank with me, believing she could be a bigger fan than she's leading on, or she could be the fan she's trying to convince us of, even though I still think it's Disney Plus. Now, in the ability to adapt, she scored a 3 out of 5. Likability and social, 4 out of 5. Knowledge of the game, 4. Pre-game strategy, 4. Initial threat level, 3. I believe she's not going to be someone people want to target early. And I believe she could be the type of player who could get along with the women and the men just the same. Mainly because the white women on this cast seem to be the bigger super fans. So I think they're going to have the majority of the power the majority of the weeks. And then on the male side, there's more white men on this season than any other contingent of men. So in theory, she can kind of weave in and out of both sides, and this is why she ranks so high. I see her as someone who has a lot of flexibility, a lot of different types of players she can work with, because she is older, but she also ticks certain boxes, which could allow her to be included with certain other players like a Reilly or like an America. All these things are positive for her win conditions, and this is why I have her ranked at 7th place. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to 6th place out here. All right, we finna get into the real savages now, because this top 6, in my opinion, deserve to be here. I think one of these 6 is going to end up winning this game. You can hashtag that one. All right, I think these 6 have all showcased to me that they're coming in with a pregame strategy that is not only impressive, but they also have a good knowledge base of the game, and I think they are all-around players that are capable of getting themselves to the end or convincing someone to take them there as well. And that's why 6th place is none other than my guy Jag. Now, I'm going to be honest. Even though Jag is 6th place, outside of the brother Jared, he's probably my favorite casting decision of the season. I like everything about Jag. Number one, I love the fact that we have the first ever Punjabi on Big Brother US. I think that's positive. I think it's dope. I love the fact that he's from Washington. If I'm not mistaken, Felicia's from Washington, but she moved down south after being from Washington. That could be something that could help her in the game, maybe get closer to not only Jag, but also Hisam, who's also from Washington. So you notice what I'm noticing there. There's a possibility here, in theory, that the 4 black players could link up with Hisam and Jag, and all of a sudden, wait a minute now, productions, they thought they was getting one over on black folks, and we hit them with it where it hurt. You know what I mean? We flipped it on them. You know what I'm saying? That's possible. That's why I'm not trying to be completely doom and gloom. That's why I'm kind of in a good mood, even though we all know to an extent Jared is screwed. Dang, I'm rhyming on accident. I'm that dude. But no, for real though, let's be serious. Jag Bains, a.k.a. the Punjabi Jaguar, I believe is going to be a forbidden jitsu. The one thing I love about the guy is the idea that he don't take that hat off. Don't take it off, coach. I respect that. Yo culture is yo culture. If people are uncomfortable with yo culture, they can kick rocks, huh? Because there are kids from your culture that will see you on TV and you are going to inspire them to do great things just by you being there. And that is something I can rock with all the way. So he has 19 stars. He's 25 years old. He's from Omak, Washington, and his occupation is he's a truck company owner. He's also an entrepreneur. He's also a Paralympic coach. I mean, this guy's a jack of all trades, man. That's why I almost called him the Jag of all trades. You feel dig me, coach? But, you know, he's from Washington just like Hisam. This should allow both men to hit it off quick, especially since both are of Asian descent. Being from the same area gives them both an immediate connection, and with Jag being the same age as Jared Fields, I see potential in this cast for a lot of pivoting prowess. Jag needs both Jared and Hisam to make jury, or else his game is cooked, in my honest opinion. Now, representing his Sheik community is very important to Jag. I have to respect that. He loves sports and competition. Being the first Punjabi on the show means a lot to him. Does seem like he's very excited for this opportunity and to really represent his family and his culture. He doesn't want to play a lone wolf game. He wants to protect his people. When I heard that, I said, uh-oh, wait a minute now. When I hear my people, I hear somebody who got his fist out a little bit. I see maybe the Kiefer of US coming to life here, huh? Huh? I'm just saying. Now, let me not put too much pressure on you, bruh. Let me not put too much pressure on you. But with that said, I see potential in this guy to possibly be the forbidden one. You know what I mean? Now, he's the only player to mention jury management in any of his interviews. That was impressive to me, right? Because when I listen to interviews, I want to hear a certain terminology only a superfan would say. Not the cookie cutter generic responses of tomorrow that Taylor got off that made us all believe she was a super fan. No. I want to hear the direct stuff. I want to hear the detail that would only come from someone who truly studies the game and knows the game, right? I don't want someone grifting off of the failure or the victimhood of their forefathers or foremothers. I want to see people really putting the pedal to the metal and trying to create a new lane for themselves and trying to create a lane that is not toxic, that is healthy for the people that follow behind them. And unfortunately, Taylor was so busy trying to make sure she could get as much as she could, she failed to realize she set up a lot of black people who followed behind her to fail. And at the end of the day, how can you say your legacy was to inspire black people when you have led to this moment where black people now have less hope than they had before during your season, right? The only way this is possible is if you drop the ball during the postseason after you won. And this is why I held her accountable. And now I'm being proven correct, because now you see the results of what happens when you let certain people go unchecked. Now, my guy Jag, he's not afraid to get blood on his hands. He's a secret genius, and he quoted that. He owns a gas truck company and real estate. He plans to lie about his occupation, believing people will assume he's cutthroat. He's going to say he's a substitute teacher and a Paralympics coach. Now, here's my initial takeaway, and this is something I bet no one else is going to throw at y'all, but y'all know me. I like to throw stuff at y'all because just in case it comes true, y'all going to be able to say, oh, Negro Diamond strikes again. Wouldn't it be really cool if Jag and his Paralympics background created and established some type of a final two with Matt with his Deaflympics background, and they create like an Olympic alliance that's based around positivity to inspire people? I think that would be really cool. And if that's the long game production is trying to hide, now that's interesting. But that was something on my mind. I definitely thought about that for a second. I said, you know what? Matt and Jag, they both could help each other. I mentioned how Matt could help Jared. Well, why can't Matt, Jared, and Jag work together, right? They're all like in the same little age group there, 25, 27. Why not? So, and there, I mean, there's a shot Matt could be in the show, man. So let me not get ahead of myself. Matt can have a mouthpiece. You feel me? Dig me, coach? Listen, man, I don't judge books by their covers no more. That's why Izzy is in the top 7. Because I think Izzy going to be a ringer this season. I really do. I don't think she going to be on the Lessica side of the game. But to get to the score, ladies and gentlemen, the Punjabi Jaguar scored 3 stars in ability to adapt, 3 stars in likability and social, 5 stars in knowledge of the game, 5 stars in pregame strategy, and 3 stars in initial threat level. I really do believe he won't be viewed as an initial, immediate big threat within the house, because you're going to have guys like Luke towering over everyone. You're going to have Jarrett there giving lemon booty out to non-black folks. In my opinion, this is going to buy Jag some time. And as long as it buys him some time, in theory, it gives him time to get Hisam on side, and hopefully they do what's best for their overall games long term. But once again, maybe Jag and Hisam also are kind of scared to work with black players, believing if they sit next to anyone black, the black player automatically wins. So maybe this is what makes them turn on black people towards the end, but I think they need to acknowledge the fact that they need black people at the beginning. I 100% believe it. And we'll get into Hisam's strategy later, but I think his strategy does synergize really well with Jag's skill set. And it might synergize really well with Matt's too. And Jarrett's for that matter. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to 5th place. 5th place with 20 stars is none other than Reilly Smedley, okay? Now, I'm going to be honest. I was torn here between whether she or Jag deserved to be 5th. The reason why she scored, she ended up beating Jag out, she won a tiebreaker with him. They both got 20 stars here. She won the tiebreaker over Jag simply because, my bad. Jag had 19. She didn't win the tiebreaker. She had 1 more star over him. But the reason why she scored above him is quite simple. The cast is more so built around Reilly's skill set. Reilly is from a superfan family. But Reilly is also on a cast with someone like America, who I believe is guaranteed to work with her on day one. Because when you look at this cast, who is Reilly going to work with outside of America? Who is going to be that other white girl she hits it off with? And see, this is the reason why I speak so much about how they didn't give Jared a black guy that he could hit it off with. Because just having one person around you in your age group that has experienced similar things to you in their life, that is something that can alleviate a lot of stress and that can bring the best out of you. They don't want to bring the best out of brothers. That's why they got them alone on an island. Huh? On the Tom Hanks side of the game, it's castaway settings. And we ain't talking about Survivor. Now, Reilly Smedley is 24 years old. Her hometown is Portland, Maine, pardon me. Her current city is Nashville, Tennessee, and her occupation is a bartender. So the same occupation Xavier lied about having, she's going to be able to really get that off. She reminds me of Raven a bit from BB19, just with blonde hair. I think she will align with America because they are the only young white girls on the cast. Reilly lives in Tennessee, which is where Red is from. So in theory, her and Red could have a Nicole and Donnie type relationship. A lot of people forgot Nicole and Donnie were like really cool during BB16. They were super close to the point where the Alliance during BB16 decided to nominate Donnie next to Nicole to get Donnie out. And then, of course, they eventually convinced Christine to turn on Nicole. I'll never forget that. And it's funny because it's almost as if Nicole became Christine after that moment. You know what I'm saying? She was like, oh, I'm going to hate on every woman in existence now. But so I think there's a chance there that Reilly could scoop up Red, right? Red could be that guy on the outs no one really can read, no one really wants to work with, but at the same time, no one wants to waste an HOH on. I could see a situation where America and Reilly, and maybe Izzy, they pick up Red and keep him close, and he's just that fourth number in their voting block, and now they're so overpowered. And then all of a sudden, all they got to do is bring in a couple of more guys into the fold, maybe a Cory here and there, maybe a Luke, maybe even a Cameron. Next thing you know, that's too much of a force. You know what I'm saying? And it's a level 6, arguably, once you got that amount of people on the team. So, yeah, man, 100%. I think she has a lot of pivoting prowess as well. And even though I don't believe she's as good as America on day one, I believe she could outlast America in the right circumstances because I think America is the one, even though her pregame strategy it's more so catered around laying low, whereas I think Reilly's strategy isn't as predicated on laying low. I do believe America's going to be the one that wants to have control a little bit more than Reilly. So Reilly could have an opportunity to outlast her in a perfect world. But with that said, man, if America is smart, she pushes Reilly to keep Red working with the white women because that keeps them with the numbers. In theory, Reilly and America win condition is based around whether or not they can keep the 5 white men from having an all-men's alliance. If they can keep them from obtaining that all-men's alliance, in theory, Reilly and America, they run the entire show all season. Because both are attractive women. I think a guy like Cory might have the hots for one of them. And Cory has a real good skill set. You know, and if they can control him, if one of them can be the Brittany Haynes to his Ian Terry and just puppeteer him a little bit, now you're weaponizing him and now you're kind of getting the best out of him while making sure he takes all the blood because he's the one following through and you kind of are one step removed. In theory, that's the perfect game for both ladies. But she's a real super fan. If you do the math, there are only a handful of super fans on the cast and almost all of them aren't black. Jag is probably the only non-white superfan on the entire cast. It's probably him and Hisam. They're probably the only non-white superfans on the cast, and some people think Hisam passes as white. So, man, everybody else is a luxury recruit. Her family loves this show. Her strategy is going to be expecting the unexpected and be ready to adapt to whatever comes. She also doesn't want to float at all. She is the only player to mention floating in her interview. She has no secrets worth keeping because she's a bartender. Her job is the type of job nobody thinks you're a threat for having. Being a bartender means she's very sociable, though. She believes she will bring a flavor to the house no one else can, and she can't wait to entertain everyone while she is on live feeds. I believe Reilly will hit it off well with America, and both of them need each other because they are both huge super fans. If they are smart, they bring Izzy into the fold, and those 3 women seem to know the game the best amongst the women. So, in the ability to adapt, Reilly scored a 4 out of 5. Likability and social, she scored a 5. Knowledge of the game, she scored a 5. Pre-game strategy, she scored a 3. Initial threat, she scored a 3. I think from a pregame strategy standpoint, there is more to be desired there. But outside of that, I do believe she is someone that no one's going to really target early on. The only way I think Reilly or America get targeted early on is if Mecole wins HOH. That's why I'm kind of hoping for the chaos. I hope Mecole guns for the first HOH, honestly, because I think she needs to. Now let's get into fourth place, ladies and gentlemen. Fourth place is none other than Hisam Goueli, or Goueli. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Coach, a.k.a. Dr. Devious. All right, now, I believe with 21 stars out of a possible 25, I believe this guy could be one of the biggest wild cards on the season. A lot of people are comparing him to Devin from BB16, saying that, his pregame strategy is a little too intricate. He's going to be too sloppy, and this is going to get him taken out early. He's 45 years old. So, listen, it's going to be a lot harder for him to control the game and do the things he believes he can get away with doing at that age. But with that said, I believe he has enough game knowledge up top. He's lived enough life experience, and his geriatric physician background should also help him really get closer to the older Houseguests and be able to really speak some sense to them to maybe rally those troops. And maybe there's an older player alliance that dominates. You never know. Because the average young player may think the older players are easy to take out, so let's focus on these black people first. And what if the old players come together and then they just start winning stuff, and then before you know it, the Final Four is all the old folks? That'd be crazy. That would be crazy. It's possible, though, because Hisam is not your average 45-year-old. His hometown is Minneapolis, Minnesota, but his current city is Seattle, Washington. He's a very loud speaker. That was the first thing I noticed. Seems like a good athlete because he went out of his way to say he has muscles. Feels like someone who will try to win a lot of competitions. I think he needs to work with black players because Felicia is likely his only shield on day one based on age and the Cavs dynamic. And if he's working with her, why not work with the other 3 black players and bring Jag Bains into the fold? In theory, they could have a cookout 2.0 right then and there, Coach. I mean, come on now. And I'm seeing all these people say, this season reminds me of BB23. I disagree. I think it's more closer to BB20 than BB23, but I see what you all are alluding to. Jag Bains is the perfect ally for Hisam. And if those two link up with the 4 black players and add Blue Kim to the mix for an early majority, that group of 7 could steamroll this game together. If Hisam can somehow get Bowie Jane on his side with Felicia, I could create the argument Hisam is the most dangerous entity in the game because he would have young and old shields simultaneously. He's very adventurous and he is a driven man. He wants a ride or die that is good at controlling their emotions and executing. Doesn't this sound like Matt? It sounds like Matt or it sounds like Jag. That's what it sounds like to me. Or it sounds like Cameron. One of those 3, it sounds like he's going to end up working with. In my honest opinion, I don't think it'll end up being Jared because I think he'll diagnose, Jared, yeah, man, ain't no other brother around. I don't know, man. I don't know if I can depend that you'll lay low as much as I will throughout the game. I don't think he'll want to risk that biscuit, Now, after seeing him speak, I think Cameron is a bit of a better fit for Hisam than Jag is. Cameron's pregame strategy synergizes well with Hisam's pregame strategy. He also wants to create 2 onion alliances with that ride or die ally to maneuver across the house as both factions fight each other and he plays both sides against the middle. Then he wants to sway the votes to cause flips that keeps players on their toes and him and his ride or die final 2 in control. He mentions how a lot of final 2s fail because one person doesn't uphold their end of the bargain by winning to back up their ally. He plans to find someone he knows can back him up, and I think he will align with someone that is very strong. Because Hisam is 45 years old, his biggest obstacle is obviously the social game with the younger contingent of players. As long as he can get those younger people on his side, maybe with the help of Jag, I think this guy has great staying power. Because out of all the older players, yeah, you can create the argument he's the biggest physical threat out of the older group. But I also believe he's the guy you kind of got a backdoor even though he's old. Because if he stays, you know who he's coming after. In the ability to adapt, he's got 3 out of 5 stars. Likability and social, I gave him 3 out of 5, mainly because of his age. If he had been 30 years old, I probably would have gave him a 5 there, because I do believe he's going to be a good social player. I just think he's going to have certain limitations with the younger players. Knowledge of the game, I gave him 5 out of 5. He knows what he's talking about. Pre-game strategy, I felt it quite compelling. And listen, when you come up with something that's that complicated, you got to be a big fan to think that deep about it. So for that reason, he scored a perfect 5. An initial threat, he's clearly a 5. He looks like a very tall guy, just like Luke does. And I think that's why on day one, they're going to be a huge initial threat. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, at least he ain't black. He'll be able to bounce back from that somewhat in this game. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the top three. I think the majority of y'all probably agree with these top three. Because based off what we've seen thus far in just one day of bios and just one day of interviews, these three are the ones that pop off the page the most. These are the three that I believe have the highest chance probability of being Apex production pets. These are going to be the three players I think that production will want to see win badly to push us into the Stone Age deeper. Third place is none other than Cory Wurtenberger, okay? Now, at the end of the day, coach, man, I really like the guy. I really do. I mean, I think he has charisma. I think he's very sarcastic. I think he's very quick on his feet with his jokes. He scores 21 stars out of a possible 25. He's 21 years old. He's a college student, and he's impressive. You know, I remember when Ian played this game, Ian was nowhere near this outgoing, this sociable. So maybe this guy is the evolution of Ian's archetype. He's from Weston, Florida. And there's also other players from Florida, so that might help him throughout here. That might help him establish a connection with a Luke, maybe. He has a good sense of humor. In a perfect world, Cory and Jared could have a secret survivor alliance that would allow the both of them to control the entire game. They could steal Hisam's strategy right then and there if they're smart. And Cory's brother did entertain a crush on a black girl after Survivor, so it's possible Cory could also like to work with the sisters and the black folks. But I have a feeling that's going to be too risky of a strategy for Cory, and he's going to play it safe early on because he's a super fan. He knows it's smart not to do something that creates waves, at least directly. You know, Ian Terry didn't create any real waves in BB14 until it was time to blindside Mike Boogie. Then that was when you started to see him kind of go off on Frank Udy and get with the Quack Pack and start to establish himself more as a player. Now, Cory's secret isn't really a disadvantage because his brother played poorly on Survivor, so he doesn't have the same paranoia or difficulty level that Jared has in a similar situation. Cory also is on a cast with 9 white people, while Jared doesn't even have another black man to talk to. I think Cory and Cameron would make an ideal final two because both are legit super fans in a cast full of fake super fans, and they will be afforded the opportunity to lay low early on in all likelihood. With Luke and Matt both being bigger initial threats, and with Red being the older guy from down south, all Cory really has to do is stay out of drama to make jury. I mean, being the youngest player on the cast could hurt him in a final two speech scenario next to someone older who needs the money more, you know, and this might be the thing that makes Cory maybe try to turn on Cameron right before the end of the game if they were to work together, because I believe if you're next to Cameron in final two, you're going to lose just because he has a child. More specifically, he has a daughter. You know, when you have a daughter, that makes people want to give you the money even more so than if you had a son. So I just think it's one of those things where the only way Cory can win this game at that young of an age, I think he has to be next to someone people devotedly hate. And you have to ask yourself, who possibly could people hate that much on a cast like this if the black people are going to be targeted so early? This is what makes Cory's game quite compelling, because I see him being a guy who could play masterfully but still be robbed of a win simply because no one wants to reward a college student with all that money. You know, and that's really going to be the most difficult part, right? Because he wants to push this narrative that he's this young 21-year-old that's in over his head, and if he doesn't win the first HOH of the season, he plans to really embellish how fish out of water he is and how much he needs help doing laundry and how he doesn't know how to do this and how he's so incompetent with that. But you got to be careful there, because I know what you're really doing. You're trying to make yourself seem like Ian. So then when you grow as the game goes along, when it's really just you becoming your natural self as the game goes along, because you're playing down your natural self. I get that part of the posturing of it. But he's basically banking on that the jury won't view him as a 21-year-old kid that doesn't deserve it. They'll view him as a coming-of-age story and someone who deserves it because they remember where he was on day one juxtaposed to where he is now. I get that side of it. I just don't think this jury's going to be that gullible. Because in all likelihood, the people you're going to be sitting next to are going to be people that are probably going to be able to tug at heartstrings more than you can. You're going to have to be more of game body in your final speech. And that's why you're going to have to be sitting next to someone that they absolutely hate. And that's what I already said. But still, who do you really believe, in the comment section below, Cory could sit next to in final two and win the game over if he makes it that far. Because in order to make it that far, he's going to have to do some dirty stuff. He's going to have to turn on some people, and he's going to have to sit next to someone he believes he can beat, which means he turned on the people he couldn't beat. I just see a bitter jury every time when I think about Cory making the end. But with that said, is he the third best player on paper to me? Yes, without a question. Now, being the youngest player on the cast could hurt him in a final two speech scenario next to someone older. He must put respect on his last name because his brother Zach didn't do that on Survivor. He's excited for the show. His sense of humor is really slick. I see an Apex production pet in the making, and I see a guy who they will likely bring back when he's a little bit older, maybe 5 or 6 years from now when he's like in his mid-20s, maybe even early 30s, they'll bring him back. I can see that. He wants to win the first HOH to establish the tempo, but if he doesn't, he plans on playing possum by using his age to lower his threat level by pushing how naive he is. The only real obstacle I see for Cory is the cast having so many older players. Him being so young, him being specifically the youngest, it could be hard for him to earn respect early on, especially if he tries to act like he's just this baby, right? There might be certain players that don't want to baby you, right? And that's the key to that. His brother Zach has already confirmed that Cory knows the Jarrett David versus Goliath story. I showed you that earlier. So that means it's highly likely that Cory could have the keys of destruction to completely ruin Jarrett's game at any moment by exposing who Jarrett's mother is, you know? And that's the part of this that's really, really scary to me, right? If Cory has this ability to at any moment turn the key and just ruin the black man's game, then he is very powerful early on. But in my honest opinion, if I'm Cory, this is exactly why I would want to be in Final 2 with the black man. They're not going to reward black person 3 times in a row. If I'm anyone on this season and I'm non-black, I'm actually going to be ballsy enough to take someone black there, believing people are tired of seeing the same thing. Well, I would take Jarrett there. I'd be terrified of taking Felicia. I'd be terrified of taking, but that's because of Taylor's win, right? Like, I wouldn't be scared to take the black man because you see how the black man get treated. You know, juries will look at the black man and say, oh, yeah, you played a masterful game, but you're not a woman, so you don't get to win. That's how they be doing, brothers. So, listen, if I'm Cory, honestly, his only way to win might be with Jarrett. Because everyone else, I think they have a better narrative why they should win, right? If he at the end next to Jag can create a narrative he deserves to win because he's the first ever Punjabi player and he made Final 2, the first ever time a Punjabi played the game. That's too powerful of a narrative. That's arguably the Taylor of Punjabi. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it that way. But as a real super fan, too, that could really elocute why he deserves to win it outside of just gender roles or identity politics, it makes it a little bit stronger. And same thing for Hisam. I believe both of them can benefit in that way, you know. And don't let Hisam get that final speech at the end. And he talked about how much he loves helping older people and stuff like that. Like some of the stuff he was saying about how certain people have a certain amount of days on this earth, and he wants to utilize as much time as he have to help older people. And man, you know, very inspirational dude for real. You know what I mean? But in the ability to adapt, I gave Cory a 5 out of 5 stars. Likability and social, I gave him 4 out of 5. But it remains to be seen if he's really this socially good or if he's putting on for the camera because he's by himself. I'm going to be paying attention to that. Because when you're around people that are a lot older than you, you can't really be as sarcastic as you want to be because those people have experienced more life experience. So your jokes, they might not end with laughter when you create them. But yeah, so likability and social, like I said, 4 out of 5. Knowledge of the game, 5 out of 5. Pre-game strategy, 5 out of 5. Initial threat level, 2 out of 5. I believe he's going to benefit immensely from being 5'7", about $140, soaking wet. This is going to benefit him immensely. If there's a wall comp, I think he's going to be very deadly in it just because of his stature, low center of gravity. And for that reason, I think he's going to be a very dangerous player down the stretch. I don't think he's going to be someone anyone black will want to take out if they win an early HOH, so that benefits him. And I don't think he's the type of player anyone white will want to take out necessarily. That benefits him. You know, it behooves him 100% to not win anything if he can't win the first HOH. And honestly, I don't even know why he wants to gun for the first HOH. In my opinion, winning the first HOH just tells everyone that you are competent, and then you have to change everything that you were planning on doing for the rest of the game. I just don't think that's the right approach. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into number 2, ladies and gentlemen. the final two. Thank you so much for being here for the past couple of hours, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your support, and I hope you all are enjoying the content. Now let's get to second place, ladies and gentlemen. It is none other than America Lopez, okay? Now, America Lopez, I got to give her credit, man. I really do got to give her credit. She scored a whopping 22 stars out of a possible 25. And when you think about how lately we haven't had that many white women who have played very well at this game. This gives her a very, she is of Latin descent. Oh, okay, yeah, she is she is the Latin representation. I keep forgetting her last name is Lopez. But yeah, so that's good. So they do have representation there. Kudos to you, production. I was wrong. I take back what I said earlier. But America Lopez is very impressive to me. With 22 stars, of course her nickname is Miss America. That's a play on on the Marvel character. America, I think her name is America Sanchez. She's 27 years old. Her hometown is Edinburgh, Texas, but her current city is Brooklyn, New York. Her occupation is medical receptionist. Like, this girl, because she's a receptionist, she's going to be good with people. She plans to come into this game and administer a June song type game in which she uses the kitchen to her benefit. She's going to clean, she's going to cook, she's going to eavesdrop, she's going to stay out of the drama, and she's going to most likely will and deal from the shadows. Because I think a lot of people are going to want to work with her. I think certain guys are going to want to hook up with her, and I think certain women are going to want to want to work with her. I think a lot of people are going to view her as the center of the social bubble of the house. Because if she's the one cooking and cleaning, she's the one that always keeps people in a good mood. This is going to keep her privy to a lot of pivoting, to a lot of strategy. It's going to keep her privy to a lot of things that are happening that other people won't know about. And because of that, I think this is going to keep her in a very strong power position throughout the entire game. And I think production will definitely have some favoritism towards her because that's just the way the cast looks. It looks like they're building towards that already. She has seen every season of the game. She's been watching for 15 years plus. All right, now you see why she ranks so high. I really care about super fans, real super fans. She has an Ivy League degree on top of that. She's going to be an Apex pet. I don't care what none of y'all say. It's obvious. The only woman I think that is on America's level based on first impression is Kirsten. But since Taylor just won the game, America has the advantage in that face-off. Now, America plans to lay low early and do whatever it takes to win. She plans to utilize the June song strategy. She also plans to flirt it up a bit with the boys, and maybe even do some Allison Irwin strategy, too. She's been watching some BB4. She about to do damage to this house. This season seems built for her to shine. She really seems like the perfect Final Two ally. Reilly seems like the perfect Final Two ally for her. There's plenty of white guys to choose from for a showmance, and it feels like the only the white women on this cast are really the super fans. So they also have more source material to think back to before implementing a move, and this naturally makes her even more dangerous, because while all the black women seem to be in the Hunger Games on day one, America has the luxury of using the kitchen strategy and kicking her feet up before jury begins. Because of this, I don't see her creating more enemies on purpose. And then once jury starts, I think that's when she'll start trying to push to win comps, because at that point, that is when America will want to push the game down the path she needs it to be down. She scored 5 out of 5 in ability to adapt, 5 out of 5 in likability social, 5 out of 5 in knowledge of the game, 4 out of 5 in pre-game strategy, and 3 out of 5 in initial threat level. That's probably the only thing that is low scored for her, because we're back in the Stone Age. But I could create the argument even when we were in the Golden Age. It wasn't that much of an initial threat level for anyone outside of sisters when we talk about women heading into the game. Now let's get into first place, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all know who this man is, and in my opinion, he deserves to be here. He looks just like Hyde from That 70s Show. He scored a whopping 23 stars at a possible 25, and he goes by the name of Cameron Hardin. and he's finna get buckins like his first name is James. You feel it? Dig me, coach. He's 34 years old. His hometown is Eastman, Georgia. His occupation, he's a stay-at-home dad, and he is what you call a real super fan through and through. And I think him being a stay-at-home dad will also help his game socially because he's used to being locked in the house all the time, you know? And at the end of the day, I really do believe when it's all said and done, this guy is going to be the most dangerous player because he's going to be the hardest to read, because when you look at him, you don't think he's coming with all of the tools he's coming with. And at the end of the day, I just believe because of the cast he is on, because it's a bit older, him being 34, he's going to be able to mingle well with them above. I think he's going to be able to mingle well with the people below that's younger. I think he could lie about his age if he wanted to, but he doesn't have to. This guy can literally go about this game in as many different paths as America can, hence why he just beat her by a point. He is, in my opinion, the biggest threat on the board. In my opinion, he is the one guy that is the biggest matchup nightmare on the board because he has the extra life experience Cory doesn't have, all while having the same information, but I think he has a better knowledge of self, and I think that will work better for him in the interpersonal dynamics with women on this cast specifically, right? And when women know that you're a dad and you have a young girl at home, it naturally makes the women in the house never want to target you if they have the choice, right? Because they don't want to do that to your daughter. And I think this is going to play very well for Cameron. If he wins one HOH and he gets a letter written to him from his daughter, it's going to make everyone melt in that HOH room. This guy has the keys to the everything. And because of it, coach, if y'all ain't careful, he going to drop the Oppenheimer. All right? Now, he's a real super fan, a true super fan. And if he's used to that lifestyle of staying at home, he likely will have a good social game and possibly be a good cook, just like America plans to be. He's lived for this moment. He almost made the show 5 or 6 times. He's tried out for this show. He's made the finals, and he kept being cut, and he just kept fighting for it. I got to respect that, man. I got to respect that. He refused to be denied, and now he has the time to shine. One has to wonder, though, were production saving him for a Stone Age season because they wanted him to get Apex Pet treatment? I'm just asking questions here. Now, his strategy going into the game is to throw comps early. However, he doesn't want to lay low too early because that keeps you from alliances. He wants to create connections with people that last. The only secret he wants to keep is how big of a fan he truly is. Other than that, this guy is ready for that moment, and I think he's going to play well on this cast. He wants to take a page out of Ian Terry's book while also using his social skills to figure people out quickly. He's worried about being away from his daughter this long, but he is dedicating this season to her, and he is hoping to bring the money home. This guy scored pretty much above average across the board, right? 4 out of 5 in ability to adapt, 4 out of 5 in likability and social, 5 out of 5 in knowledge of the game, 5 out of 5 in pregame strategy, 4 out of 5 in initial threat level. And that's the thing. Initial threat level. If you can have a good initial threat level and still make the end, in my opinion, you were playing on a harder difficulty and you still overcame that adversity. That naturally makes you a little bit more legendary because you didn't have the luxury of being on easy mode until people figured out you were actually a good player. I think Cameron, because he knows how to downplay his skill set, he will be viewed early on as someone who's not that good. And then by the time people figure out he's pretty good, it just might be too late. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm on my way to the live chat. I would like to answer some questions. All right, listen, this is the first live stream we've done regarding Big Brother in a while. This is the first season I'm covering in the year of 2023, so I'm in no rush to leave you all right? If you have any questions, please comment below and give them to me, feed them to me. I ain't got nowhere to be. Y'all ain't got nowhere to be. Thank you so much for being up late here with me. And hopefully, me giving this to you all early, it's good because you all can digest it, take a break tomorrow, let the public enjoy this tomorrow, and then, of course, we will jump back in the saddle Wednesday night for the premiere to see how these players truly play when the bright lights are on. So I'm excited, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm on my way to the Bat Cave. I hope you all are still around with questions, and we can really get down to the nitty-gritty. Oh yeah, I definitely believe we're gonna have a white showman, at least one. All right, and listen, I think because Taylor kind of made a mockery of the only black showmans to make Final Two, I think this is also playing another factor in why someone like Jarrett don't even want to be bothered with a showmans. What's the point of me being in a showmans, huh? I mean, black showmances don't even really help the image of black men. It doesn't, you know. Trouble Curl says, "Are you counting Hisam as white though?" I wasn't counting him. I was counting. I was kind of counting him as Asian based off of his name. But there are certain people who are counting him as white. Some people believe this cast has 6 white players on it. That's basically what I'm saying there. I believe the cast has 5, but once again, dilly dally, shilly shally. At the end of the day, you know, a certain demographic is going to benefit from this season. I still want the season to be a success. At the end of the day, I'm happy that there are certain players on this cast that have a skill set to do well. You know what I mean? That's all that really matters, you know? And as long as we get a game where there's constant power shifts, then I don't really care. You know, I just don't want to see a boring season, and I definitely don't want to see one player be able to control every facet of it from start to finish. I want to see everybody have to deal with adversity. I want to see everybody have to deal with twists from the past. I want to see comps from the past. I want to see all the things that made Big Brother the show that it is today, that we know and love. I want to see all those things brought back because I want the casual audience during this writer strike, I want them to have the luxury of being able to see the things live we witnessed live that hooked us in for good. I want them to have that chance to get hooked in for good too. So, yeah, so that's my answer to that. Patrice says, "I said the same thing. There's too many episodes per season for her to watch 24 seasons twice in 7 months." Yeah, it's impossible. Let's just be honest. It's impossible, Patrice. You know, some people are trying to put extra hot sauce on the chicken. You know, they think Frank's Red Hot is the best. You know what I mean? They're tripping. Okay, so y'all answer. Oh, okay, we got some questions. Let's get it cracking. All right, I'm excited for this. All right. So Tev says, "So you didn't cover BB Can 11 at all?" Technically, Tev, after the season ended, well, not after the season ended. I basically did 3 rants. I did 2 rants about a player that I believed was a victim of Taylor's success. And then I did another rant about the black man who overcame the hate he went through simply because everyone was once again relying on the same tired narratives of bashing black men for being great. Well, now, what's going to be the narrative? Is Jarrett going to be bashed for being bad when he inevitably fails? Or is he going to be loved because he's the lovable loser, right? And that's really the real problem here. Black men are more loved when we fail and lose in this culture. Then when we win, we're disliked and we are just completely castigated. You know, I just don't understand it. You know, everyone claims to be this big fan of the game that just want to see great gameplay. The minute a black man is playing great gameplay, then all of a sudden they bring up all this other stuff that has nothing to do with gameplay anymore. Now it's about feelings. Now it's about how you treat people. Meanwhile, they'll justify how certain entities mistreat people all the time just because they aren't a black man while doing it. So the double standard, it created the current climate that we're in. So the people that are most angry about what they see when regarding this cast, they need to just look in the mirror and realize this cast wouldn't be this way if y'all would have just for a second been like, "Hey, Monty, we appreciate what you did. Everyone don't do what you did, but you did it. Thank you." Literally, we just saw Josh refuse to do that for Betty and BB Can 10, and people come around the pike, and then they see a black man do it for a black woman, and they go, "Yeah, it's what we wanted to happen last year, but you know what? I'm still not going to give you no credit for it." But if you don't do it, we're going to complain about the fact you didn't do it too. Okay then, well, you're creating a climate in which the black man is always wrong, so you might as well get rich and still be wrong, right? And that's the real problem. They don't realize that they have incentivized that, and that's why Jared ain't trying to hook up with none of these sisters, because he also is aware that the black man gets nothing out of that. You know, you see what Swaggy C going through right now. That's all I got to say. Abdi asks question, what's the percentage of Jared winning this season? I'm going to go 5%. 5%. I mean, let's be real. He's a recruit / casual who's related to a great. So he's under, like, immeasurable pressure because of who his mom is, but he doesn't even have the skill set to live up to that pressure because he's not really a BB superfan. He wanted to play Survivor. He wasn't able to play it, so now he's here because he was the likable black man that production felt could check a box and would lead to the least amount of, cancel him. Oh, I'm reporting him. Oh, I'm looking up his job. Oh, I'm going to get him fired from it. See, they are doing 5D chess now with sisters. They're saying, you're not going to go look up his job and get him fired. You don't want to piss off Suri, do you? See, the truth is they're exposing the fact that there is a double standard. They're exposing the fact that only because Suri feels as his mom does he get special treatment that Monty wasn't even given. And that's the saddest part about it. It shouldn't matter who your mom is. It should matter what you have done. I don't care about none of that other stuff. I care about what you've done to push black people forward. If you've done well to push us forward, I give you credit. I've always been that guy to do that. I don't care how I feel about you. I'm always going to do that, you know. Somewhere along the way, we forgot to do that. And because we forgot to do that, we have given certain entities the go-ahead to not feel like they have to represent black men enough at all. Isaiah asked the question, do you think Cory Wurtenberger, Jag Bains, and Matt Klotz will all work together? Well, I don't think Cory is going... I think Cory could work with Matt. I think Jag could work with Matt. I don't know about Cory working with Jag. There's something about that dynamic. I don't know. There's something about it. I don't know. In theory, it could work because both are super fans. But I think the way the game shakes out, I think they might end up on opposite sides just based off of what is safe for Cory's game versus what's Jag has to do just to make it to jury on his side. Now, they could link up later on, but yeah, I think it's more likely that Matt works with Jag or Matt works with Cory than Cory works with Jag. Spivey asked a question, what you think about Jared aligning with America? Well, here's the thing. If Jared were to align with America, I would be interested to see how the community would criticize him. Because a certain contingent will feel like, okay, let's be nice to him. Let's be soft-handed because we don't want to piss off Suri. Right? But I still believe to a certain extent they're gonna think the audacity of this man to say he wouldn't have a showmance and then he chooses the non-black girl. They're gonna almost put him back in that Monty box when he was trying to get with Paloma. We see it, and I think that's why you asked the question. So yeah, Spivey, we know that they would immediately turn on Jared after that. You know, Jared has to basically do what Monty did, blindly and forget about how Monty was treated. That's basically how brothers are treated out here. Tev asks question, who do you think gets a twist day one? If I know this production team, they're going to try to give it to America. They're going to try to give it to Izzy. Or they're going to try to give it to Matt. I see those three being the three that they're going to diagnose as, we want to give them something. Tempest asked the question, do you think there will be a Michael Bruner of the season? I think, well, see, that's the thing. I don't really know the sexuality of the players, of the men on the cast, and I don't want to assume. But in terms of just comp beats, I'm assuming that's what you mean. I think Hisam could fulfill that prophecy. I think Hisam could end up being that guy that just starts dog walking everyone in a comp. And it doesn't make any sense. And he could change the way the 45-year-old archetype is viewed moving forward. So that could be positive as well. Isaiah says, he asked a question, why does Matt look like Tyler so much? That was definitely done by design. I mean, there's a lot of players on this game that look like hybrids of other players, you know? And it's probably because they looked at the market research. These are the people that the casual audience tend to resonate with the most and like to watch. So let's find someone who reminds them of them, and maybe that'll bring someone back who gave up on the show. I see the reason for it. Abdi asks a question, is it possible for Jarrett to be spared since the black women could possibly remind them of Taylor? Well, see, that's the thing. Strategically speaking, you want to give yourself the highest chance of being able to get rid of whoever you want to get rid of whenever you want to. Jarrett is really the only guy who could throw a wrench into everyone's plan, win a veto, take off a sister, and then derail everything. Because of that, I see him being the guy that they would possibly nominate next to a Felicia. Felicia becomes the easy pawn and to get him out. Because you got to understand, a lot of people aren't going to want to make an enemy out of Kirsten or a Mecole if it's not their time to go yet. And see, that's where I see Felicia possibly being used as the pawn to get rid of the stronger black players. And then before you know it, Felicia is now, there's no one black left in the game. She's the only one left. I see that being very possible. Kyle vibes. I ain't going to lie to you. I feel like Luke a little bit gives some Kyle vibes, but I don't want to put that on him, man. I want to give him the opportunity to play whatever game he wants to play, and I don't want to put that type of stigma on him, that type of label on him. At the end of the day, Kyle did what he did, but even Kyle was a cool guy until he lost his head, right? So listen, at the end of the day, we got to be responsible here, and I'm not going to just say any of these people are exactly Kyle, but yeah, I think production set them all up to have enough allies so none of them have to be viewed as Kyle. They can just play it and act like, no, we're just naturally doing what we would have done anyway, and it's the way for everyone to sweep it under the rug, and it's their way of playing the Kyle game without outwardly playing the Kyle game. It's like a incognito Kyle game. Where they asked about the last two seasons. Not necessarily, but a lot of players, specifically Mecole, she brought up Taylor and Xavier as being players she's very similar to. So most likely they showed all the black folks the last two seasons. And I was worried that they would show too many of these players the last two seasons because I thought that would set up the black players even more to fail. Because, you know, when you see those seasons and you're a recruit, you walk into a cast, you're assuming that cast is going to be just as stacked in black people's favor. The minute you see that it isn't stacked this time, oh, you're salivating at the mouth. Because now you see this is your opportunity to finally, you know what I'm saying, change the era up and give fans something different. So some of these players might be amped up by that. Nah, I don't. You funny. No, I don't think there'll be a beard alliance, though. That would be silly, though. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, I would really love to see a situation where Matt and our boy Jag work together because of their backgrounds in Paralympics and Deaflympics. I think that would be really cool. Isaiah asks a question, if Matt doesn't win, he's definitely getting it. Oh, the AFP? Absolutely. Absolutely. Isaiah asks a question, could you see Jag Bains and Felicia being close? That's the one connection I only see working if Hisam is the middleman, bridging them together. That's the only one. I think Hisam has to bridge it. And Isaiah, for the final question of the night, he asks, who do you think goes home first? If I had to bet money on it right now, I think if someone black wins HOH, I think red goes home first. I think if someone non-black wins HOH, I think Mecole goes home first. The reason why I say that is because even if Jared is a threat, I think a lot of players are going to want to cut into that three-person number if they have the chance to. Like, if Felicia's next to Jared, Jared's gone. But if any other black woman's next to Jared, I think Jared has the mouthpiece to possibly stay. But yeah, so I think Red or Jared are likely to be targeted the first week of the game, depending on how it shakes out. And I would hate to see that, but listen, I'm a realist. I'm honest, and I'm going to tell y'all exactly how I feel. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. I'm Dave Smith of Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. And this was truly my pleasure bringing you all another worst to first cast assessment. What are your thoughts? Are you excited about this season? Are you worried that the Stone Age is approaching at a rapid rate and it is undeniable and unstoppable? Right now, let's be honest, it's like we're watching Thor Ragnarok, huh? Hela has shown up, and she is wreaking havoc right now, huh? Somebody has to save this place. You feel me? Odin's gone, huh? Loki can't be trusted, huh? All these Nexus events happening left and right, huh? But if there's one thing I want to remind you all of, even though these black players are going to be in the Hunger Game, I want you all to take this as a learning experience for the future. When black people are in the middle of their renaissance, when they are successful, we do not have the luxury to be divisive, to hate on each other just because we see one another succeeding and we wanted another gender to be in that spotlight. We don't have that luxury. We need to be happy for whoever wins because we need to remember what it felt like when we never won. And now we're back in that age where we never won. This was an age I never wanted to return to. And this is why I was the one who gave Xavier all that credit when everyone else in the media just wanted to go ahead and slob Tiffany down. I was the one who defended Taylor after that, believing the prophecy needed to be fulfilled because I understood the importance of that, even if I was aware once a black woman wins, maybe production would go about face. Still, I was banking on the fact that the black community would stay on code and appreciate Monty once he did the thing they thought he wouldn't do. Only for them to hedge against him even when he did what they didn't think he would do and create a narrative that he only did it because he was cocky, not because he was selfless. The saddest part about it all is if Joe would have did what Monty did, none of those same people would have said Joe did it believing he could have beaten Taylor. They would have ran along with the narrative that he loved her so much. They would have ran with the narrative that it was true love that got them the final two. Because these are the narratives that people would rather live within, these Disney Plus narratives. And unfortunately, because people chose to live in La La Land instead of reality, it took Hotep Thanos to utilize the Reality Stone over the last 9 months to try to whip people back into what's going on and out of that VR headset of a lifestyle they were living in the past. And now, unfortunately, we're going to be subjected to some Stone Age. But I must stress this. If you were someone who didn't appreciate what Monty did for Taylor, unfortunately, you do not have the right to even feel a certain type of way about how Jared is going to be put through the ringer. He's in the Hunger Games now. And never forget the famous quote from the Hunger Games. When Katniss was going to turn on her allies that she had an alliance with, what was the one thing that was said to her that got her to think straight? Remember who the real enemy is. Somewhere along the way, people got so satiated, they got so spoiled and entitled, they forgot who the real enemy was enough to believe I was their enemy when I was the one who helped us get out the Stone Age. Now we're back in it, and they need me to help them dig out of this hole again, when they could have just assisted me in making sure the hole didn't have to be dug ever again. That's the saddest part, ladies and gentlemen. But at the end of the day, you live and you learn, right? The important thing is that we don't make the same mistake a second time. Because for the people who think that this is bad, it can get worse than this. We could go back to the days where there was only 2 black people on the cast. Don't forget, we're lucky to even have 4 now. My only criticism is that it's not 2 black men, 2 black women. Let's not forget that. Before people run with these narratives and try to say I said that and this and there, my only narrative was this. Did we need Felicia on this cast when we could have had one more prime traditional black man to assist Kirsten and assist Mecole? Did we need Felicia on this cast? When everyone knows Felicia is not getting herself to final two, when she admitted she doesn't really need the money, was it really necessary after a black woman's win to pick 3 black women and 1 black man? It was not necessary. But the choice that was made was a smart choice on production's end to push the game down the path they know it's going to be damn near impossible now for this current crop of black players to stop. And at the end of the day, all we can do is give these black players our support, knowing that they're in over their heads. They're playing with house money. So listen, if 3 of them make the jury, to me, that's a success. We need to lower our expectations for what the black players can do. That way, whatever they accomplish, we can hoist them up for doing it. This is how it used to be, and this is how it's back to being now. And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, hey, I'm just happy to have Big Brother back, and I'm happy to have you all as an audience back. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Dave Smith with Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism, and this was my Big Brother 25 Worst to First. To give you all a quick little average rating per player of the season, because I like to document this, the average rating per player, the average score per player, pardon me, was 17.69. That's kind of below average compared to other seasons that I have given a Worst to First on. So I don't believe the crop of players is better from a median standpoint than your average season. I think this is actually across the board more of a subpar season because there's less super fans from across the board. But with that said, I do believe because it's older players, we could have hungrier players, which could lead to players fighting more, which could lead to us getting better feeds, which could lead to more unpredictability. And at the end of the day, we're here to be entertained. And I'm thankful you all are re-upped one more time on Patreon to be entertained with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all for the premiere. Until next time, deuces. Production, y'all got one over on us. Woo!